Chosen one, stop what you are doing right now. Whatever brought you here, whatever invisible hand guided your finger to press play on this exact video at this exact moment, it was not random, it was not an algorithm, it was not luck. Something far older and far more intentional than any of those things orchestrated this encounter between your ears and these words. And I need you to understand that before we go any further. Because everything that follows depends on whether you believe that or whether you dismiss it as just another thing the internet threw at you while you were scrolling through your day, looking for something you could not name, something that would make the ache in your chest quiet down long enough for you to breathe, something that would explain why you feel so close to a breakthrough and yet so impossibly far from it at the same time. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly, not to me, but to yourself, in the silence of your own mind. Have you noticed that your life has been forming a pattern lately? A pattern that almost makes sense but never quite completes itself, like a puzzle that is 92% finished, and no matter how many times you search through the remaining pieces, turning them over in your hands, examining their edges, trying them in every possible orientation, you cannot find the ones that belong in those final empty spaces. You have felt this. I know you have felt this. Because if you had not, you would not be here right now. The very fact that you are listening to these words is itself a piece of evidence that the pattern is real and that you have been searching for the missing fragment that will make it whole. This is what I call the almost pattern, and it is one of the most misunderstood spiritual phenomena of our time. The almost pattern is when everything in your life appears to be lining up, when synchronicities are happening with increasing frequency, when you keep seeing the same numbers on clocks and license plates and receipts, hearing the same phrases from strangers who have no idea they are delivering a message, meeting people who seem to carry fragments of a cosmic communication meant specifically and exclusively for you. And yet, despite all of these signs, despite all of this divine communication pouring into your awareness from every direction, the breakthrough you have been waiting for never fully arrives. It hovers just out of reach, like morning fog that you can see but cannot hold in your hands, like a dream that felt absolutely real while you were inside it, but dissolves into vapor the moment you open your eyes and try to carry it into your waking life. That is the almost pattern. That is the condition that has been defining your existence for weeks, for months, perhaps for years now, and it has been slowly, quietly, relentlessly eroding your confidence in your own spiritual perception. Most people who experience the almost pattern draw one of two conclusions, and both conclusions are devastating because both conclusions are wrong. The first conclusion is denial. Some people experience months or years of signs and synchronicities that never resolve into tangible breakthroughs, and they decide that the signs were never real to begin with. They convince themselves that the patterns they were seeing were just the human brain doing what human brains do, finding connections where none exist. And so they retreat. They pull back from their spiritual practices. They stop paying attention to the whispers. They lower their expectations. They build walls around their hearts to protect themselves from the disappointment of hoping for something that never comes. And slowly, imperceptibly, they sink into a life of quiet resignation, going through the motions, paying their bills, maintaining their routines, but never again allowing themselves to believe that they were chosen for something extraordinary. The second conclusion is self-blame. Other people experience the almost pattern and decide that the problem must be with them. They must not be spiritual enough, not faithful enough, not disciplined enough, not pure enough. And so they double down on everything they have been doing. They meditate longer. They pray harder. They fast more intensely. They read more scripture. They attend more services, more retreats, more conferences. They wake up earlier to pray. They stay up later to study. They fill every available moment with spiritual activity, hoping that if they just try hard enough, if they just sacrifice enough, if they just demonstrate enough devotion, then surely the breakthrough will finally arrive. And it never does. Because they are trying to solve a problem with a tool that was never designed to solve it. They are trying to fix a broken transmission line by shouting louder into the microphone. Both of these conclusions are wrong. Profoundly, fundamentally, devastatingly wrong. And the reason both conclusions are wrong is because the problem was never about your faith. The problem was never about your effort. The problem was never about your worthiness or your discipline or your devotion or whether or not you deserve what God has been trying to deliver to you through every sign and synchronicity and prophetic whisper that has been flooding your consciousness for as long as you can remember. The problem, chosen one, is neurological. And that single word, neurological, is going to change everything you thought you knew about why your spiritual life and your physical reality have been operating on two completely different frequencies. I want you to imagine something for me. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast canyon, not a small gap, not a modest ravine. A canyon so wide that when you stand on one rim and look across to the other side, the details over there are hazy, indistinct, reduced to shapes and shadows rather than clear, definable features. On one side of this canyon is your spiritual awareness. This is the side where you feel the stirring in your chest when you pray. This is where you sense that something massive is shifting in the unseen realm. This is where your intuition lives, sharp and alert, and constantly scanning for signals from a dimension that most people have been trained to ignore. This is where your connection to the divine pulses with a rhythm that is as real to you as your own heartbeat. And you know that it is real because you have tested it, because it has warned you of danger before the danger arrived, because it has guided you to the right place at the right time, on occasions too numerous and too specific to be coincidence. You know this side well. You have spent years cultivating it, nurturing it, watering it like a garden that only you can see. And it has grown into something strong and beautiful and undeniable. Now look across the canyon to the other side. On that side is your physical reality, your bank account, with its stubborn refusal to reflect the abundance you have been speaking over your life. Your relationships with their cycles of intensity and distance that never stabilize into the deep, nourishing connections you crave. Your career with its frustrating pattern of near misses and almost promotions and opportunities that materialize just long enough to get your hopes up before evaporating like water on hot pavement. Your health, with its unexplained fatigue and its brain fog and its persistent low-grade tension that no amount of rest seems to resolve. Your creative output with its maddening inconsistency, those rare days of brilliant, effortless flow, followed by weeks of grinding, producing nothing that feels authentic or alive. The tangible, measurable, observable conditions of your material existence laid out before you in all their stubborn, resistant, unyielding reality. And when you look at that side honestly, without the filters of positive thinking or spiritual bypassing, or the defensive optimism that you have been using to protect yourself from the full weight of the discrepancy, you see the truth clearly. It does not match the spiritual side. There is a gap, a massive, yawning, undeniable gap between what you sense is possible and what is actually manifesting, between the power you feel inside and the results you see outside, between the person God told you that you are and the person your bank account and your bathroom mirror seem to reflect back at you every morning. That canyon between your spiritual awareness and your physical reality is not a metaphor. It is not a poetic way of describing an abstract concept. It is not a literary device designed to make a spiritual message more engaging. It is an actual, measurable, scientifically documented phenomenon that occurs in the human brain when two specific regions fall out of synchronization with each other. And this phenomenon has a name that neuroscientists use in peer-reviewed journals and clinical research papers published in the most prestigious medical institutions in the world. It is called hemispheric desynchronization, and it is the hidden epidemic that is silently crippling the potential of millions of spiritually awakened people across the planet right now. At this very moment, while you listen to these words, your brain has two hemispheres, chosen one. You already know this. It is basic anatomy. But what you may not know, what most people never learn, because it is not taught in schools, and it is not preached from pulpits, and it is not discussed in the mainstream spiritual community, is that these two hemispheres are supposed to operate in a state of continuous, real-time, high-bandwidth communication with each other. Not occasionally, not when you meditate, not when you sleep, continuously, every second, every microsecond, not two. A constant, unbroken dialogue of electrical and chemical signals flowing back and forth across a physical bridge of nerve fibers. The left hemisphere processes logic, language, sequential thinking, analytical reasoning, mathematical computation, and the kind of structured, linear cognition that allows you to navigate the physical world with precision and predictability. It is the part of your brain that reads contracts and calculates tips and remembers appointments and follows step-by-step instructions. It is the translator that converts the raw, formless energy of possibility into the structured, organized sequences of action that produce tangible results in the material world. The right hemisphere processes intuition, creativity, spatial awareness, emotional depth, musical comprehension, pattern recognition across vast data sets of sensory input, and the kind of holistic, non-linear cognition that allows you to perceive things that cannot be measured with instruments or described with ordinary language. It is the part of your brain that senses when someone is lying to you before they have finished their sentence. It is the part that recognizes beauty and feels compassion and understands metaphor and perceives the sacred geometry hidden in the natural world. When these two hemispheres are synchronized, when they are communicating with each other at the same frequency and with the same intensity, and with zero delay between transmission and reception, something extraordinary happens. The gap between your inner knowing and your outer reality closes. The almost pattern completes itself. The puzzle pieces that were missing suddenly appear in your hands, and they fit perfectly, effortlessly, as if they had been there all along, waiting for you to develop the neurological capacity to see them and pick them up and slide them into their designated positions. When both hemispheres are singing the same song at the same tempo, you do not just think clearly, you think completely. You perceive both the seen and the unseen with equal clarity. You move through the physical world with spiritual precision and through the spiritual world with physical confidence. Ideas do not just arrive in your mind as vague, formless impressions that dissolve before you can capture them. They arrive complete, structured, actionable, already organized into the sequential steps required to bring them from imagination into existence. But when these two hemispheres fall out of sync, when the bridge between them weakens or becomes congested or starts transmitting on a frequency that neither side can fully decode, then you get exactly what you have been experiencing. You get a spiritual life that is rich and vibrant and overflowing with signs and wonders and prophetic downloads, paired with a physical reality that stubbornly, infuriatingly, heartbreakingly refuses to reflect any of that spiritual richness. You get faith without fruit, vision without manifestation, revelation without realization, prayer without power, insight without implementation. You get two halves of a magnificent whole, each one functioning perfectly in isolation, but unable to communicate across the damaged bridge that was supposed to unite them into a single, unstoppable force of divine purpose operating through human form. And here is the part that is going to disturb you, but I need you to hear it because it is the truth, and the truth is the only thing that has the power to set you free from this prison you did not even know you were in. This desynchronization did not happen by accident. It did not happen because you are broken or flawed or spiritually immature or cursed or abandoned or forgotten by the God who created you. It happened because something in your environment, something you were exposed to repeatedly over a long period of time without your knowledge or consent, gradually disrupted the natural communication between the two halves of your brain. Think of it like this. Imagine a bridge made of thousands of delicate crystalline fibers, each one carrying a specific frequency of information between two great cities. For years, this bridge operated flawlessly, transmitting millions of data packets per second with perfect fidelity. The two cities thrived because of this bridge, sharing resources, coordinating responses, operating as one unified system. Now imagine that over the course of years, someone has been pouring a slow, invisible corrosive agent onto that bridge. Not a dramatic attack, just a fine, persistent mist that settles on the fibers so gently that no one notices. But over time, fiber by fiber, connection by connection, the bridge degrades. Messages that used to cross in milliseconds now take seconds. Data that used to arrive intact now arrives scrambled and corrupted. The two cities are still there, still functional, still generating output, but they are no longer operating as one. They are two separate, disconnected entities, each one confused by the silence from the other side. That bridge in your brain is a real structure called the corpus callosum, the primary communication highway between your left and right hemispheres. It consists of roughly 200 million nerve fibers, every single one playing a specific role in maintaining the synchronization between the logical and intuitive aspects of your cognition. When that bridge is operating at full capacity, you do not just think clearly. You think with a wholeness that most modern humans have never experienced in their adult lives. You perceive both the spiritual and the physical with equal resolution. You move through your day with a fluidity and a confidence that makes other people wonder what you know that they do not. You make decisions that seem inexplicably perfect in retrospect because they were informed by both data and intuition simultaneously. You create things that carry a quality of aliveness that cannot be manufactured by effort alone, because they were born from the union of analytical precision and creative inspiration. The environmental factors that have been degrading this bridge are things you encounter every single day, chosen one, and they are so woven into the fabric of modern life that questioning them feels almost like questioning reality itself. The electromagnetic frequencies emitted by the devices you carry in your pocket and hold against your face for hours every day. The artificial light patterns that flood your retinas from screens that were engineered by teams of behavioral psychologists to capture and hold your attention for as long as possible. The stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline and norepinephrine that cascade through your bloodstream in toxic concentrations every time you scroll through a news feed designed to trigger your fear response. Every single one of these factors individually would cause minimal damage. A slight reduction in bridge bandwidth here, a minor increase in transmission latency there. Nothing dramatic, nothing alarming, nothing that would make you pick up the phone and call a doctor or drop to your knees and beg God for healing. But combined and experienced daily, and compounded over years and decades of exposure, They create a cumulative neurological burden that slowly, invisibly, relentlessly degrades the communication bridge between your two hemispheres until you are left with exactly what you have right now. Two powerful, functional, spiritually alive hemispheres that can barely hear each other through the static. And because the degradation is so gradual, so imperceptible in its daily increments, you never notice it happening. You simply wake up one morning and realize that your life feels slightly off, that your prayers feel slightly less connected to their answers, that your creative impulses come slightly less frequently and with slightly less force, that your ability to translate spiritual insight into physical action has become slightly more difficult. Slightly, always slightly, never dramatic enough to trigger alarm, never sudden enough to identify a cause, never severe enough to justify seeking help. Just a slow, persistent, maddening dimming of a light you did not even know was supposed to be brighter. This is why you have been working so hard and seeing so few results. This is why you have been praying with all of your heart and watching your circumstances remain stubbornly, mockingly unchanged. This is why you have been receiving visions and revelations and prophetic words and divine downloads, and yet feeling utterly unable to act on them with the kind of decisive, confident, world-shaping power that those revelations demand. Your antenna is working perfectly. Your receiver is working perfectly. The signal from heaven is as strong and clear and specific as it has ever been. But the wire between them, the bridge, the corpus callosum, the 200 million fiber highway between your spiritual perception and your physical capacity for action, has been corroded by the very environment you live in. And no amount of spiritual discipline, no matter how intense, no matter how sincere, no matter how consistent, can fix a neurological problem. Let me say that again, because it is the most important sentence you will hear today. No amount of spiritual discipline can fix a neurological problem. You can fast for 40 days. You can pray without ceasing. You can memorize every verse in every holy book ever written. You can attend every service, every retreat, every conference, every revival, every prayer meeting, every worship gathering, every Bible study, from now until the end of your natural life. And if the bridge between your hemispheres is degraded, you will still experience the almost pattern. You will still feel the gap between what God is showing you and what your life is reflecting. Because the issue is not the signal. The issue is not the sender. The issue is the transmission infrastructure. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking that this sounds too scientific, too clinical, too neurological for a spiritual message. You are thinking that if the answer were really about brain hemispheres and nerve fibers, then surely the preachers and prophets and spiritual leaders you trust would have mentioned it by now. And I understand that reaction. I had the same reaction when I first encountered this information, and I resisted it for longer than I am comfortable admitting. I grew up believing that faith was the only variable that mattered, that if I just believed hard enough and prayed long enough and demonstrated enough devotion, everything would fall into place on the timing God set. And for a long time, I resisted any explanation that involved brain science or neurology or clinical research, because it felt like it was undermining the sovereignty of God. It felt like reducing something sacred to something mechanical. It felt like taking the mystery out of the miracle. But then I realized something that completely transformed my understanding of how the Creator operates. And I want you to lean in closely, because this realization is the key that unlocks everything else. God designed the brain. Every synapse, every neuron, every neurotransmitter, every electrical pathway, every chemical reaction that occurs within the 3 pounds of tissue inside your skull, all of it was conceived, engineered, calibrated, and implemented by the same intelligence that hung the stars in the sky and set the planets in their orbits, and encoded the spiral of DNA with 3 billion letters of genetic instruction. The brain is not separate from the spiritual. The brain is the physical instrument through which the spiritual manifests in the material world. It is the interface between heaven and earth. It is the translator that converts divine impulse into human action. It is the antenna, the receiver, the processor, and the broadcaster, all wrapped into one 3-pound organ that sits between your ears and determines the upper limit of how much of the power of God can flow through you into the physical world. And if that instrument is out of tune, if that interface is corrupted, if that translator is working with a degraded dictionary, then the most powerful spiritual revelations in the history of the universe will arrive in your consciousness and then die there, unable to cross the bridge into physical manifestation. Not because God failed, not because you failed, but because the bridge that was supposed to carry them across was never restored to its original operating capacity. This is what the enemy does not want you to understand. This is the knowledge that has been hidden from you, not in some ancient vault or locked archive or restricted government facility, but in the space between two fields of study that were deliberately, systematically separated from each other centuries ago. Theology and neuroscience, spirit and brain, faith and frequency, prayer and neural oscillation. These were never meant to be separate disciplines. They were never meant to be taught in separate buildings by separate people who never speak to each other. They were meant to be two sides of the same investigation into the nature of human potential and divine partnership. Two lenses trained on the same truth from different angles, each one revealing details that the other cannot see alone. And the fact that you are hearing this now, today, at this specific moment in your life, after all the signs and all the synchronicities and all the almost breakthroughs that led you here, is the proof that what I said at the beginning of this message is true. This is not coincidence. God made sure you found this in time. In time for the restoration of your bridge. In time for the reconnection of your hemispheres. In time for the completion of the almost pattern that has been hovering over your life like a half-finished cathedral, magnificent in its design, but open to the elements because the keystone was never placed. The neurological keystone. The physical infrastructure that makes spiritual manifestation not just possible but inevitable. Because here is what is coming, chosen one. And I want you to feel the weight of this in your chest as I say it. I want you to let this settle into your bones and take root in the deepest part of your awareness. There is a wave of activation that is moving across the earth right now. You have sensed it. You have felt it in your body, like a low-frequency hum that vibrates just below the threshold of conscious hearing. Others around you have felt it too. Though most of them have no language for what they are experiencing, they just know that something is different, something has shifted. The air feels charged with invisible potential. The days feel accelerated, as if time itself has decided to move faster. This wave is not metaphorical. It is not wishful thinking. It is not a spiritual platitude designed to make you feel special so you will keep listening. It is the convergence of astronomical, electromagnetic, and spiritual forces that occurs once in a generation, and it creates a window, a brief, narrow, luminous window during which the gap between potential and manifestation becomes thinner than it has been in decades. People who are neurologically synchronized during this window will experience breakthroughs that would normally take years or decades. Debts will be paid. Relationships will be restored. Creative projects will materialize with a speed that defies logical explanation. The almost pattern will complete itself with a satisfaction so profound that it will feel less like achievement and more like remembering. People who are desynchronized will watch those breakthroughs happen to others and wonder why God seems to be blessing everyone except them. They will feel the wave pass over them without entering them, like rain falling on a tent rather than on soil. That is not a future you were designed for. That is not the plan that was written over your life before you took your first breath. You were designed to be among those who ride this wave, not those who watch it pass from the shore with confusion and envy in their hearts. But riding this wave requires a brain that is operating at full capacity. It requires two hemispheres that are talking to each other in real time, at full bandwidth, with zero latency and zero distortion. It requires the bridge to be restored. And the good news, the news that is the entire reason God arranged for you to find this message today, is that restoring that bridge is not only possible, it is simpler than you ever imagined. It does not require years of therapy. It does not require expensive equipment. It does not require a medical degree or a neuroscience background. It requires an understanding of how your brain was designed to work by the God who designed it. It requires an awareness of what disrupted that design, and it requires access to a specific, proven, scientifically validated method of neurological recalibration that was developed by a doctor who spent his career studying the exact problem I have been describing to you for the last several minutes. And that method, that recalibration process, is what I am going to walk you through in the rest of this message. Not because I am trying to sell you something, not because I have a hidden agenda, but because God placed a burden on my heart for the chosen ones who are trapped in the almost pattern, and He showed me with absolute clarity that the key to breaking them free was not more prayer, and not more faith, and not more spiritual effort. The key was restoring the bridge, the neurological bridge, the physical infrastructure that allows spiritual power to flow into material reality and transform it from the inside out. Stay with me, chosen one. Do not click away. Do not get distracted. Do not let your phone or your doubt or your cynicism pull you somewhere else. What comes next is going to reorganize everything you thought you knew about why your life has not matched your calling. And more importantly, it is going to show you exactly what to do about it, starting today. Now, let us go deeper into what is actually happening inside your skull right now as you listen to these words, because understanding the mechanism is the first step toward restoring it. And I do not mean understanding it in an abstract, intellectual way that you can file away in the same mental folder where you keep interesting facts and forgotten trivia. I mean understanding it in the way a person understands fire after they have been burned by it, in the way a swimmer understands the ocean after they have been pulled beneath the surface by a current they never saw coming. I mean a visceral, embodied, transformative understanding that changes the way you process everything you have experienced for the last several years of your life. The bridge between your hemispheres, the corpus callosum, does not just passively sit there transmitting whatever signals happen to pass through it. It actively coordinates the timing of those signals. It regulates which information crosses first, which information gets priority, and how the receiving hemisphere should interpret what arrives. Think of it like the conductor of an orchestra. The violins are on the left, the cellos are on the right, the flutes are in the back, the drums are in the front. Every section is playing from the same sheet of music, but if the conductor stops beating time, if the conductor loses the rhythm, then every section continues playing independently. The violins speed up slightly, the cellos slow down. The flutes come in a beat too early. The drums add an extra rest where none was written. Individually, each section still sounds beautiful. Each musician is still talented. Each instrument is still perfectly tuned. But together, the sound that emerges from the stage is not music. It is noise. Organized noise. Sophisticated noise that contains all the elements of a masterpiece but fails to produce one because the timing, the synchronization, the invisible coordination between parts has been lost. That is exactly what hemispheric desynchronization sounds like inside your brain. Both sides are still working. Both sides are still producing extraordinary cognitive output. But they are no longer playing from the same beat. And the result is the internal experience that you have been living with for months, possibly for years, that you have never been able to adequately describe to anyone because the words for it do not exist in common language. Let me try to describe it for you now, because I think that if someone had described it to me earlier in my life, I would have saved years of confusion and self-doubt. There are 3 primary symptoms of hemispheric desynchronization, and I want you to listen carefully to each one and notice, honestly notice, whether it resonates with your lived experience, not whether it sounds interesting or intellectually stimulating, whether it resonates, whether it makes something deep inside you clench or release with the recognition of being truly seen for the first time. The first symptom is cognitive fog, and I need to be very specific about what I mean by this, because the phrase cognitive fog has been used so loosely in popular culture that it has almost lost its meaning. I am not talking about the kind of fog that makes you forget where you put your keys. I am not talking about the kind of fog that comes from a bad night of sleep and clears by noon after a cup of coffee and a walk around the block. This is a deeper fog, a structural fog, a fog that sits between your awareness and your capacity for decisive action, like a thick pane of frosted glass that you cannot remove or see around. You can see shapes through it. You can sense movement on the other side. You can tell that something important is waiting for you just beyond the glass, but you cannot see it clearly enough to respond to it with the precision or the confidence that the situation demands. This fog is most noticeable in the moments that matter most. When you need to make a major life decision, the fog thickens. When you need to articulate a vision that is burning inside you to someone who has the power to help you bring it to life, the fog rolls in and scatters your words into fragments that sound nothing like the clarity you feel inside. When you need to take building action on something God has placed in your heart, the fog descends and transforms your certainty into hesitation, your conviction into doubt, your fire into smoke. You have probably blamed this fog on stress, or lack of sleep, or age, or diet, or some vague notion that you are just not as mentally sharp as you used to be when you were younger and the world felt simpler and the path forward seemed clearer. And those factors can contribute to cognitive fog, certainly. But the fog I am describing has a different quality to it that distinguishes it from ordinary tiredness or distraction. It is selective. It is strategic in how it appears. It does not impair your ability to perform routine tasks. You can still drive to work safely. You can still have casual conversations about the weather or what happened on a television show last night. You can still scroll through your phone and process surface-level information with no difficulty whatsoever. The fog only appears when you try to do something that requires both hemispheres working together in real-time concert. When you try to take a spiritual insight, something you felt deep in your chest during prayer, and translate it into a concrete plan of action with steps and timelines and resource allocations, when you try to hold a creative vision in the right hemisphere of your mind, while simultaneously organizing the logical, sequential steps required to manifest that vision in the left hemisphere. When you try to feel what is right and think about how to implement it at the exact same time, those are the moments when the fog appears. Because those are the moments when the degraded bridge between your hemispheres is asked to carry more bandwidth than it currently can, and it chokes on the data like a garden hose trying to handle the volume of a fire hydrant. The second symptom is emotional volatility, And this one catches people off guard because they rarely connect their emotional patterns to a neurological cause. They assume that emotions are purely spiritual or purely psychological, and so they seek spiritual or psychological solutions that never fully work because they are addressing the wrong layer of the problem. When your hemispheres are synchronized, your emotional responses are proportional to the events that trigger them. Small irritations produce small reactions that fade quickly and leave no residue. Major challenges produce major responses, but ones that are tempered by rational assessment and strategic thinking and a deep-seated trust that you have the resources to navigate whatever has appeared on your path. Joy is deep and sustained rather than manic and fleeting. Grief is honored and processed and eventually integrated into a wider understanding of your story. When your hemispheres are desynchronized, this proportionality breaks down completely. Small irritations trigger disproportionate rage that you cannot explain and cannot control. Minor setbacks produce catastrophic despair that seems absurd even to you while you are drowning in it. A single critical comment from a colleague can ruin an entire week. A small piece of good news can produce a euphoria that evaporates by evening, leaving you more depleted than before it arrived. Your emotions stop flowing like a river and start crashing like waves, each one coming from a direction you did not expect, each one hitting with a force that bears no rational relationship to whatever triggered it. You become a mystery to yourself. You do not understand why you react the way you react. You do not understand why the same situation can produce fury on Monday and total indifference on Wednesday. You start to question your own stability, your own maturity, your own spiritual condition. This happens because emotions are processed primarily in the right hemisphere, but regulated primarily by the left hemisphere through the prefrontal cortex and its associated neural networks. When the bridge between them is degraded, the right hemisphere generates emotional responses that the left hemisphere cannot adequately receive, interpret, contextualize, and modulate in real time. The raw emotional signal arrives at the left hemisphere already distorted by the compromised transmission, like a voice on a phone call breaking up with static. And the left hemisphere, unable to process it accurately, either amplifies it beyond all proportion or suppresses it entirely, leaving you oscillating between extremes with no stable middle ground. This is why you swing between feeling everything with overwhelming intensity and feeling absolutely nothing at all. Between crying at a commercial for an insurance company you do not care about and feeling completely numb at the funeral of someone you loved. Between burning with passionate purpose at 3 in the morning and feeling flat, empty, and indifferent by the time the sun rises. It is not a personality flaw. It is not a character weakness. It is not a spiritual deficit. It is a bridge problem, a bandwidth problem, a synchronization failure between two parts of your brain that were designed by God to regulate each other, but can no longer communicate quickly enough to do so. The third symptom, and this is the one that causes the most pain among the chosen ones who reach out to me, is creative flow disruption. If you are listening to this message, you are almost certainly a creative being. Not necessarily in the narrow cultural sense of being a painter or a musician or a writer, though you may well be any or all of those things. Creative in the broader, more fundamental sense of being someone who receives ideas, visions, solutions, innovations, and expressions from a source that transcends your conscious, rational mind. Someone who has experienced the mysterious arrival of fully formed concepts that seem to come from somewhere beyond yourself and through you rather than from you. Hours would pass like minutes. The boundary between you and what you were creating would dissolve, and you would emerge from those sessions feeling more alive, more energized, more connected to your purpose than at any other time in your entire life. That was not talent alone. That was not discipline alone. That was hemispheric synchronization in action. That state of flow that psychologists have studied for decades and artists have chased for centuries is not mysterious or magical in the way most people assume. It is the natural, predictable, reproducible result of both hemispheres operating in perfect coordination, the right hemisphere generating raw creative material from the boundless reservoir of the unconscious, while the left hemisphere simultaneously organizes, structures, and articulates that material in real time, translating the formless into the formed, the imagined into the expressed, the invisible into the visible. Other days the flow would return unexpectedly, usually at the most inconvenient time, 2 in the morning or in the middle of a meeting or while driving on the highway, and you would scramble desperately to capture whatever came through before the window slammed shut again. This intermittent creative flow is the signature experience of a degraded corpus callosum. The bridge is not destroyed, it is damaged. It still works sometimes, during moments when your neurological state happens to align through good sleep, through vigorous exercise, through a moment of deep prayer, through the sheer random fluctuation of brain chemistry. But it cannot sustain that alignment. It cannot hold the synchronization long enough for you to build anything substantial, anything lasting, anything that fully reflects the magnitude of what lives inside you. It gives you flashes of brilliance followed by weeks of grinding frustration, glimpses of the masterpiece followed by months of producing work that feels competent but lifeless, technically adequate but spiritually hollow. And the most devastating part of creative flow disruption is not the loss of productivity. It is the self-narrative it creates inside your mind. When you used to flow effortlessly and now you cannot, the story your brain constructs to explain the change is almost always wrong. You tell yourself that you have lost your gift, that the talent has dried up, that God has withdrawn the anointing, that whatever special capacity you once had has been taken from you as punishment for some sin you cannot identify or as preparation for some future purpose you cannot see. And you mourn it like a death because it feels exactly like a death, the death of the most alive, most connected, most purposeful version of yourself. None of that is true. Not one word of that narrative is accurate. Your gift is intact. Your talent is intact. The anointing is intact. The creative capacity that God wove into the fabric of your being before you drew your first breath has not diminished by a single percentage point. What has diminished is the bridge that allows that capacity to express itself through you into the physical world. The fibers that carry the creative signal from the right hemisphere, where it is generated, to the left hemisphere, where it is structured and expressed, have been degraded by the same environmental factors I described in detail earlier. The signal is still being generated. Every single day, your right hemisphere is producing creative output of staggering quality and volume. Ideas, solutions, innovations, visions, stories, inventions, connections that would transform your life and the lives of everyone around you. All of it still happening, all of it still flowing. But most of it never reaches the other side of the bridge where it can be translated into language, into plans, into action. It is like having a geyser of pure creative water erupting underground, powerful enough to irrigate an entire desert. But the pipe that connects it to the surface is clogged with years of accumulated sediment. The pressure is building constantly. You can feel it. That restlessness you experience, that persistent, nagging sense that something enormous is trying to express itself through you but cannot find the exit, that is not anxiety. That is not restlessness in the way your doctor uses the word. That is the pressure of unreleased creative potential building behind a degraded neurological bridge. And it will continue to build until the bridge is restored. Now I want to talk about something that goes even deeper than these three symptoms, because the symptoms are just the surface expression of a problem that operates at the level of frequency. And when I say frequency, I am not using the word in a vague, metaphorical, crystals and incense kind of way. I am using it in the precise, measurable, scientifically documented way that physicists and neuroscientists use it when they study the electromagnetic activity of the living human brain. Your brain produces electrical activity that can be measured with an electroencephalogram, an EEG. This electrical activity occurs in waves, and those waves have specific frequencies measured in cycles per second, also called hertz. Different frequency ranges are associated with different states of consciousness. Delta waves, the slowest, occur between 0.5 hertz and 4 hertz and are associated with deep, dreamless sleep and the most profound states of meditative absorption. Theta waves occur between 4 and 8 hertz and are associated with deep relaxation, creativity, intuition, and that liminal threshold between waking and sleeping where many people report their most vivid spiritual experiences. Alpha waves occur between 8 and 13 hertz and are associated with calm, relaxed alertness and effortless learning. Beta waves occur between 13 and 30 hertz and are associated with active analytical thinking and focused attention on the external world. Here is what matters about these frequencies in relation to everything I have been telling you about the bridge and the hemispheres and the almost pattern that has been defining your existence. When your hemispheres are synchronized, both sides of your brain produce waves at the same frequency simultaneously. This means they are literally vibrating at the same rate, resonating together like two tuning forks of identical pitch placed side by side. When one vibrates, the other vibrates in sympathy. The information that flows between them through the corpus callosum is clean, coherent, and instantly interpretable because both sides are speaking the same electromagnetic language. When your hemispheres are desynchronized, the two sides produce waves at different frequencies. The left hemisphere might be generating beta waves, focused and analytical and racing through calculations, while the right hemisphere is generating theta waves, creative and intuitive, and swimming in a sea of formless possibility. These two frequency ranges do not communicate well through a degraded bridge. It is like trying to have a conversation between two radios tuned to different stations. Both are transmitting, both are receiving, but what one sends, the other cannot decode. This frequency mismatch is the deepest layer of the problem I have been describing. It is not just that the bridge is physically degraded, although it is. It is that the two sides of your brain are operating on different channels entirely. They are speaking different electromagnetic languages, and until they are brought back into frequency alignment, until they are resynchronized to vibrate at the same rate, the bridge could be in perfect physical condition and communication would still be impaired by the fundamental incompatibility of the signals being exchanged. This is why meditation alone does not solve the problem for most people, even though meditation is a profoundly valuable practice that I would never discourage. Meditation can temporarily shift your overall brain state toward alpha or theta frequencies, and during those brief windows of frequency alignment, you experience moments of clarity, insight, and spiritual connection that remind you of what is possible. You feel the fog lift. You feel the emotional turbulence calm. You feel the creative channel open. But the moment you open your eyes and return to the beta-dominant environment of modern life, the frequency mismatch reasserts itself with ruthless efficiency, and the fog rolls back in. The emotional waves resume their crashing, and the creative flow dries up as if it had never been there at all. This is not a failure of your meditation practice. It is a limitation of any approach that temporarily shifts frequency without addressing the underlying desynchronization at the structural level. This is also why prayer alone does not solve the problem, and I say this with the deepest respect for the practice of prayer and its irreplaceable role in the life of every person who seeks to walk in alignment with the divine. Prayer shifts your spiritual state. It connects you to the frequency of heaven. It opens channels of communication between your soul and your Creator that nothing else can replicate. But prayer operates on the spiritual level, and the problem I am describing operates on the neurological level. The spiritual and the neurological are not separate, but they are distinct. They operate through different mechanisms, and they require different interventions. Think of it this way. If your car has a full tank of premium fuel but a broken transmission, filling the tank even fuller will not make the wheels turn. The fuel is essential, absolutely essential. Without it, nothing moves at all. But the fuel is not the bottleneck. The bottleneck is the mechanism that translates fuel into forward motion, that takes the energy stored in the tank and delivers it to the wheels in a form they can use. In the same way, your spiritual fuel, your faith, your prayer, your devotion, your connection to God, all of that is essential, irreplaceable, foundational. You cannot do any of this without it. But it is not the bottleneck. The bottleneck is the neurological mechanism that translates spiritual fuel into physical motion. That converts divine insight into human action. That takes the revelations arriving in your right hemisphere and carries them across the bridge to your left hemisphere, where they can be structured into plans and executed into reality. That mechanism is hemispheric synchronization, and that mechanism is currently compromised in your brain. Let me tell you something that most spiritual teachers will never say, because they either do not know it or they fear that saying it will undermine the authority of their teaching. The greatest spiritual masters in human history, the ones who demonstrated the most extraordinary abilities, the ones who healed the sick and prophesied the future and manifested the impossible through the power of their connection to the divine, every single one of them had one thing in common that transcended their theological differences. They all had brains that were operating in a state of profound hemispheric synchronization. This has been documented in modern studies of advanced meditators, long-term practitioners of contemplative prayer, monks and mystics who have spent decades in sustained spiritual practice. When researchers place them under an EEG, their brain scans reveal something extraordinary. Their left and right hemispheres produce waves at the same frequency with an amplitude and coherence that is dramatically higher than the average person. They have achieved the neurological state that allows spiritual power to flow unimpeded into physical reality. But here is the crucial detail that changes everything. They achieved this state through decades of intensive, isolated practice. Decades spent far from the electromagnetic pollution of modern civilization. Decades in monasteries and caves and mountain retreats, far from the screens and the stress and the processed food and the constant neural stimulation that degrades the corpus callosum in people living ordinary lives in the 21st century. You do not have decades. The wave I described earlier, the window of activation that is passing over the earth right now, does not pause for anyone to complete a 30-year meditation program. It is here now. It is passing now. And the opportunity it carries will not return in your lifetime if you allow it to pass while you are still locked in the almost pattern, still trapped behind the fog, still wondering why your prayers produce feeling but never fruit. This creates what I call the synchronization urgency, and it is the central tension of this entire message. Two truths that seem to contradict each other but actually point toward the same extraordinary solution. The first truth is that hemispheric synchronization is the absolute key to unlocking everything God has been preparing, positioning, and orchestrating for your life. Without it, spiritual power remains spiritual. With it, spiritual power becomes physical, tangible, visible, undeniable. The second truth is that achieving hemispheric synchronization through traditional spiritual and contemplative practices requires far more time than the current window of activation allows. This is not a criticism of those practices. They are beautiful and sacred and essential, but the timeline they operate on is measured in decades, and the window that is open right now is measured in weeks and months. What if that bottleneck could be broken? What if the decades of practice could be compressed into something dramatically shorter without losing any of the depth or authenticity of the result? What if there existed a method grounded in the same neuroscience that documented the problem in the first place, that could guide your hemispheres back into synchronization not in years, not in months, but in minutes? A method that does not replace prayer or meditation or faith, but that restores the neurological infrastructure those practices need in order to produce their full, intended, world-transforming effect in your physical reality. That method exists, and it was not discovered by accident or stumbled upon by a hobbyist experimenting in a garage. It was developed intentionally and methodically by a researcher who understood both the spiritual significance and the scientific mechanics of hemispheric synchronization. A researcher who recognized that the almost pattern afflicting millions of awakened people was not a spiritual failure at all, but a neurological condition, and that the solution, therefore, had to operate at the neurological level while honoring the spiritual foundation that gives the entire system its meaning and its power. I am going to tell you exactly who this researcher is, exactly what he discovered, and precisely how it works to restore the bridge that has been silently degrading inside your brain. But first, I need you to understand one more crucial thing about why this moment, this specific moment in your life, is more critical than any moment that has come before it. The environmental interference I described earlier, the electromagnetic pollution, the chronic stress hormones, the artificial light patterns, the neuroinflammatory processed foods, all of those factors are not static. They are accelerating. Every year, the neurological burden on the human brain increases as new technologies are introduced and new sources of neural interference are added to the environment. Every year, the degradation of the corpus callosum deepens. Every year, the frequency mismatch between hemispheres widens in the general population. This is not speculation or fear-mongering. This is documented in peer-reviewed longitudinal studies that track cognitive function, creative output, emotional regulation, and interhemispheric coherence across populations over time. The trend line is moving in one direction, and it is not a direction that favors your awakening. Left unchecked, this trend will continue to accelerate. The bridge will continue to degrade. The symptoms will continue to intensify. And the almost pattern will harden into a permanent condition of spiritual awareness, trapped inside a neurologically compromised brain, forever sensing what is possible but never manifesting it in the physical world. This is not a message designed to make you afraid. This is a message of urgency, and there is a profound difference between the two. Fear paralyzes you. Urgency mobilizes you. Fear says you are doomed. Urgency says you have a window, and that window is open right now, but it will not remain open indefinitely. I am not here to frighten you into action. I am here to wake you up to the reality that the solution exists. The window is open, and the only thing standing between you and the completion of everything God started in your life is a neurological correction that can begin today. The question is not whether you can afford to pursue this correction. The question is whether you can afford not to. And if you have been living with the fog and riding the emotional waves and mourning the creative flow that used to define your most alive moments, then you already know the answer to that question. You already know that the cost of continuing as you are is not measured in dollars or in convenience. It is measured in unlived potential, in unmanifested purpose, in blessings that were addressed to you by name but returned to sender because the bridge they needed to cross to reach your physical reality was too damaged to carry them. What I am about to share with you is the result of a collision between two worlds that were never supposed to be separate: the world of neuroscience and the world of spiritual awakening, the world of measurable brain frequencies and the world of immeasurable divine purpose. For decades, these two worlds existed in parallel, each one producing extraordinary insights within its own domain but never crossing the boundary to inform the other. Scientists studied the brain and left the soul out of their equations. Spiritual teachers studied the soul and left the brain out of their sermons. And the people caught in the middle, people like you and me, suffered the consequences of that artificial separation without ever understanding why. He looked at it and saw a spiritual emergency. He saw millions of people whose connection to their divine purpose was being severed, not by doubt or sin or lack of faith, but by a measurable, correctable, neurological condition that no one was addressing, because no one had thought to connect the spiritual symptoms to a scientific cause. His name is Dr. Daniel Barone, and the method he developed, which he calls the genius switch, is unlike anything else that exists in either the scientific or the spiritual world, because it was born from the marriage of both. It does not ask you to choose between faith and science. It does not ask you to abandon your spiritual practices in favor of clinical interventions. It does not reduce the sacred to the mechanical or inflate the mechanical to the sacred. What it does is something far more elegant and far more powerful. It uses a specific form of audio technology developed from decades of peer-reviewed neuroscience research to guide your hemispheres back into synchronization, not over months, not over weeks, in a single session that takes 8 minutes. I need you to sit with that for a moment before I explain how it works, because I know that your first reaction is going to be skepticism, and I want you to know that I not only understand that skepticism, I respect it. 8 minutes sounds impossible. It sounds like the kind of claim that hucksters and charlatans make to separate desperate people from their money. And if I had heard that claim without understanding the science behind it, I would have dismissed it instantly and moved on to the next video in my feed without a second thought. But I did understand the science. And once you understand it too, the 8-minute time frame will not sound impossible at all. It will sound inevitable. It will sound like the only logical conclusion that could be drawn from the research that produced it. The science begins in 1981, when a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for his groundbreaking research on the functional specialization of the cerebral hemispheres. Dr. Sperry was the first person to scientifically demonstrate, with rigorous experimental protocols and replicable results, that the two hemispheres of the human brain are not merely anatomical divisions, but functionally distinct processing centers, each one responsible for fundamentally different types of cognition. Before Sperry, the prevailing view in neuroscience was that the brain operated as a single, undifferentiated processing unit. The idea that the two halves of the brain might have fundamentally different functions was considered fringe speculation, the kind of theory that serious researchers dismissed as overly simplistic and unsupported by evidence. Sperry shattered that view completely and irreversibly through his famous split-brain experiments, in which he studied patients whose corpus callosum had been surgically severed to treat severe epilepsy. he demonstrated that the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere could operate independently, each with its own perceptions, its own memories, and its own response patterns. But here is what most people do not know about the implications of his work, the implication that Dr. Barone recognized and built his entire method upon. If the two hemispheres can operate independently when the bridge between them is severed, then the quality of communication across that bridge, when it is intact, determines the quality of the unified consciousness that the two hemispheres produce together. A fully intact, fully functional bridge produces a unified consciousness of extraordinary depth, clarity, and creative power. A degraded bridge produces a consciousness that is fragmented, foggy, and perpetually stuck in the almost pattern that I described earlier. This insight was hiding in plain sight in the Nobel Prize-winning research for 40 years. Hundreds of researchers read the same papers and missed it because they were asking the wrong question. They were asking what happens when the bridge is destroyed. Dr. Barone asked a different question. He asked, what happens when the bridge is merely degraded, not severed, not obliterated, just slowly, gradually, invisibly weakened by the cumulative neurological burden of modern life? And more importantly, he asked whether that degradation could be reversed. The answer, chosen one, is yes. And the mechanism through which it can be reversed is something that neuroscientists have understood for decades, but never thought to apply in this specific way. When your brain is exposed to a carefully engineered audio signal that presents one frequency to the left ear and a slightly different frequency to the right ear, something extraordinary occurs. Your brain perceives the difference between those two frequencies as a third frequency, and it begins to synchronize its own electrical activity to match that perceived frequency. This phenomenon is well documented in the neuroscience literature under the term binaural frequency response. But what Dr. Barone did went far beyond simple binaural audio. He layered multiple frequency differentials into a single audio session, each one targeting a specific aspect of hemispheric communication. One layer targets the frequency mismatch between the hemispheres, gradually bringing both sides into the same frequency range. Another layer targets the corpus callosum itself, stimulating the nerve fibers with patterns that promote increased conductivity and reduced transmission latency. A third layer targets the prefrontal cortex, which acts as the executive coordinator of hemispheric communication, restoring its capacity to regulate the flow of information across the bridge. He calls this layered approach neural sync technology, and it represents the most sophisticated application of auditory neural entrainment ever developed for personal use outside of a clinical setting. It is the core of what makes the Genius Switch fundamentally different from anything else you may have encountered in your search for cognitive clarity and spiritual alignment. And it does this in 8 minutes. Not because 8 minutes is a marketing number designed to sound impressive, but because 8 minutes is the clinically validated time frame required for the brain to complete the initial entrainment cycle and establish the foundational synchronization pattern that subsequent sessions build upon. The brain does not need hours to respond to correctly calibrated auditory stimulation. It responds in minutes because it was designed to respond in minutes. The same way your pupil contracts in response to light in milliseconds, your hemispheric frequency responds to precisely calibrated audio input in minutes. Now I want to tell you about two people whose stories capture something essential about what this method produces in the lives of real people, living real lives, with real problems that no amount of positive thinking was going to solve. The first is a woman from California. She is a nurse, and she had been working 12-hour shifts for years in one of the most demanding hospital systems in the state. She came to this work not because she heard about it from an advertisement, but because a colleague mentioned it to her during a conversation about the cognitive fog that had been affecting both of them. She described her experience in words that I have heard echoed by thousands of people since. She said that for years she had felt like she was operating at 50% capacity. Not in her clinical skills, those remained sharp because they were procedural and left hemisphere dominant. But in everything else, in her ability to make personal decisions, in her capacity to envision a future beyond the next shift, in her creativity, which had once expressed itself through painting and writing and had slowly, imperceptibly dried up until she could not remember the last time she had completed a creative project. She was skeptical, deeply skeptical, because she had tried everything else and nothing had worked. Supplements, nootropics, meditation apps, sleep protocols, dietary changes, all of them producing marginal, temporary improvements that never lasted more than a few days before the fog crept back in and reclaimed the territory it had briefly surrendered. But something about the science behind this method resonated with her clinical training, and she decided to give it a single, honest try. She listened to the 8-minute session on a Wednesday evening after a long shift. She described what happened next as if a curtain had been lifted from the inside of her skull. Not a dramatic, overwhelming, psychedelic experience. Something quieter and more profound than that. A clearing, a settling, as if the static that had been playing in the background of her mind for so long that she had stopped noticing it suddenly went silent. And in the silence that remained, she could hear her own thoughts with a clarity she had not experienced in years. By the following Monday, 5 days later, she reported that the fog had not returned. Not intermittently, not partially. The fog was gone. She described feeling as if she had been reunited with a version of herself that she had assumed was lost forever. Her decision-making improved. Her emotional stability returned. And on the Saturday after her first session, she sat down at a canvas and painted for 6 hours straight, producing work that she said was better than anything she had created in the previous decade. The second person I want to tell you about is a man from Houston, Texas. He worked in commercial real estate, a field that demands both analytical precision and creative vision in equal measure. He had been successful in his 20s and early 30s, closing deals that his colleagues said should have been impossible, seeing opportunities in properties that other people walked past without a second glance. He attributed his success to gut instinct, to a feeling he got about certain deals that told him to move forward when the numbers alone would have suggested caution. Then, somewhere around his mid-30s, gradually and without any identifiable trigger, the instinct faded, not dramatically. He did not wake up one morning and find it gone. It just became less reliable, less frequent, less clear. The deals he closed in his late 30s were competent but unremarkable. The creative vision that had set him apart dried up, and he found himself relying more and more heavily on spreadsheets and market analyses rather than the intuitive leaps that had once been his signature advantage. He started losing deals to younger competitors who still had that creative edge, and he could not understand where his had gone. He began the 8-minute daily sessions at the suggestion of a friend who had experienced similar cognitive changes. Within 1 week, something shifted. He described it as feeling like a door had opened between 2 rooms in his mind that he had not even realized were separated. The analytical part of his brain and the intuitive part suddenly had access to each other again. During a property walkthrough that same week, he felt the old instinct return, the feeling he used to get, that electric recognition that this particular property held value that the market had not yet priced in. He acted on it. He made the bid. He closed the deal. And when the numbers came back 3 months later, his instinct had been correct by a margin that surprised even him. The creative flow had returned. not as a vague feeling, but as a precise, actionable intelligence that combined the best of his analytical training with the intuitive perception that had always been his true gift. These two stories represent something far larger than individual success. They represent the lived experience of what happens when the bridge between hemispheres is restored, when the fog lifts, when the emotional volatility stabilizes, when the creative flow returns not as a trickle but as a torrent, when the almost pattern finally, mercifully, completely completes itself, and the puzzle pieces that were missing for years suddenly appear in your hands as if they had been there all along. More than 18,000 people have now experienced some version of what that nurse and that real estate professional described. 18,456 as of the most recent count. Each one with their own unique story, their own unique set of symptoms, their own unique version of the almost pattern that had been keeping them trapped in a life that was smaller and dimmer and more frustrating than what God had designed for them. And each one reporting the same fundamental shift, not a temporary feeling of improvement that fades after a few days. A structural, lasting change in the quality of their cognition, their emotional regulation, and their creative capacity. Now, I want to address something directly, because I know that there is a voice in your head right now that is asking a very reasonable question. And I would rather bring that question into the open than let it fester in the shadows where it can grow into a wall that stands between you and the restoration that God is offering you through this message. The question is this: if this works, why have I never heard of it? If this method is as effective as I am describing, why is it not front-page news? Why is it not being prescribed by every doctor and recommended by every therapist and discussed in every church and taught in every school? I am not making a conspiracy theory argument. I am making an economic argument. When a problem generates profit, the people who profit from the problem have no motivation to promote its cure. This is not evil. It is simply capitalism operating according to its own internal logic. The nurse in California was spending hundreds of dollars a month on supplements and cognitive enhancement products that produced marginal, temporary results. The real estate professional in Houston was spending thousands of dollars a year on executive coaching and performance optimization programs that never addressed the root cause of his cognitive decline. Those industries do not benefit from the existence of an 8-minute audio session that costs $39 one time and addresses the neurological root cause of the symptoms they have built entire business models around treating at the surface level indefinitely. So they do not promote it. They do not fund studies on it. They do not include it in their treatment protocols. And the people who need it most never hear about it through the channels they trust, which is why God has to use channels like this one. Unexpected channels, unconventional channels, channels that reach you not through the gatekeepers of approved information, but through the divine orchestration that brought your finger to this video at this exact moment. This is part of what I meant when I said that this is not coincidence. The information you are receiving right now was not supposed to reach you through the normal channels. The normal channels are controlled by interests that do not align with your awakening. God had to route this message around those channels through a path that the gatekeepers do not monitor, to deliver it directly to the person who needs it most, to you, right now, in this moment that was arranged before you were born. Dr. Barone did not create the genius switch to make himself wealthy. He created it because he saw what I have been describing to you, the almost pattern, the hemispheric desynchronization, the millions of spiritually awakened people trapped behind a neurological barrier that no one was addressing, and he felt the same burden that I feel as I deliver this message to you. The burden of knowing that the solution exists and that the people who need it do not know it exists. He made the method available for $39. Let me put that number in context so you understand what it represents. Not as a price, but as a statement about intent and accessibility and the kind of future he believes is possible when enough people restore their neurological bridges and begin operating at the capacity God designed them for. A single session of clinical neurofeedback, the traditional method for addressing hemispheric desynchronization in a clinical setting, costs between $200 and $300 per session. A standard treatment protocol involves 10 sessions. That is $2,000 to $3,000 minimum, and it requires traveling to a specialized clinic, scheduling appointments during business hours, and committing to a multi-week program that most working people simply cannot accommodate within the constraints of their existing lives and responsibilities. Dr. Barone took the core neurological principles that make clinical neurofeedback effective, distilled them through the lens of auditory neural entrainment research, and engineered them into an 8-minute audio protocol that can be accessed from your phone in your home, on your schedule, for $39, one time, not a subscription, not a monthly fee, not an ongoing financial commitment, one payment that gives you permanent, unlimited access to the tool that restores the bridge between your hemispheres. That pricing was not an accident. It was a deliberate decision to remove every financial barrier that might stand between a chosen one and the neurological restoration that God is making available during this window. The original retail price was $49, and even that was a fraction of what the equivalent clinical intervention would cost. But Dr. Barone reduced it further to $39 because he understood that many of the people who need this most are the same people who have been pouring their resources into spiritual practices and personal development and healing, modalities that were addressing the wrong layer of the problem. He did not want cost to be the reason anyone remained trapped in the almost pattern when the solution was sitting right there, waiting to be accessed, waiting to be activated, waiting to do in 8 minutes what decades of traditional practice would take to accomplish. And he did not stop at the core method. Because he understood that hemispheric synchronization is not an isolated event, but the beginning of a cascading process of neurological and spiritual restoration, he included 4 additional tools at no extra cost. 4 bonuses that address the secondary effects of desynchronization and accelerate the process of full integration once the bridge has been initially restored. I am not going to describe those bonuses in detail right now because they are supplementary to the core method, and the core method is what matters most. What matters is that when you access the Genius Switch through the link in the description below, you receive not just the 8-minute neural sync session, but an entire toolkit designed to support the full restoration of your hemispheric communication and the cascading awakening that follows. And everything, all of it, the core method and all 4 bonuses, is protected by a complete, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. Let me be clear about what that guarantee means in practical terms. It means that you can access the entire method, use it, experience it, evaluate it with your own brain and your own awareness, and if for any reason you do not experience the shift that I have been describing, if the fog does not lift, if the emotional volatility does not stabilize, if the creative flow does not return, you receive every cent of your $39 back. No questions, no hassle, no forms to fill out, no automated phone trees to navigate, no human being trying to talk you out of your decision or convince you to try it one more time. That guarantee exists for one reason and one reason only. Dr. Barone and the team behind this method have absolute confidence in the science that produced it and in the thousands of documented outcomes that validate it. They have 18,456 case studies that demonstrate the reliability of the result. They know based on documented outcomes, that the vast majority of people who complete even a single 8-minute session experience a measurable, noticeable, undeniable shift in cognitive clarity, emotional stability, and creative access, and they are willing to put their money behind that confidence. When was the last time someone offered you a tool that could change everything about the way your brain operates, backed by Nobel Prize-winning science, validated by more than 18,000 users, and protected by a guarantee that eliminates every possible financial risk? That combination does not exist anywhere else. It does not exist because no one else has done what Dr. Barone has done, which is to take the highest-level neuroscience research available, filter it through a genuine understanding of the spiritual dimension of the human experience, and produce a method that addresses both layers simultaneously. This is why God brought you here, not for information, not for inspiration, not for a motivational boost that wears off by tomorrow morning. God brought you here for a tool, a specific, concrete, scientifically validated tool that restores the neurological infrastructure your spiritual gifts need in order to manifest in the physical world. That tool is available right now through the link in the description below this video for $39, with a full guarantee and with 4 additional bonuses that support the integration process. I have given you the science. I have given you the stories. I have given you the price and the guarantee and the mechanism and the research lineage stretching back to a Nobel Prize awarded in 1981. The question that remains is not whether the tool works. The question is whether you will reach for it or let this moment pass the way so many others have passed, with good intentions and no action, with recognition and no response, with knowing and no doing. I need to talk to you now about something that is going to feel uncomfortable, and I need you to stay with me through the discomfort, because what is on the other side of it is freedom, real freedom, not the conceptual, abstract, philosophical freedom that spiritual teachers talk about in sermons and books and podcasts. The concrete, tangible, measurable freedom of a brain that is finally operating the way God designed it to operate, producing the results in your physical reality that match the visions He has been placing in your spirit for years, while you waited and wondered and asked why. It is called cynicism, and it is one of the most misunderstood and most destructive forces operating in the human psyche today. Most people believe that cynicism is a form of wisdom. They believe that being cynical means being discerning, being careful, being smart enough not to be fooled by people who make promises they cannot keep. And in certain, very specific contexts, that belief is justified. Cynicism can protect you from genuine frauds, from manipulative salespeople, from investments that are designed to separate vulnerable people from their money while delivering nothing of value in return. In those narrow contexts, cynicism serves a legitimate and important protective function that has kept you safe more than once. But there is another form of cynicism that is not protective at all. It is profoundly, devastatingly, life-alteringly destructive. And it operates so cleverly within your psychology, so seamlessly mimicking the voice of wisdom, that you cannot distinguish between the cynicism that is protecting you from genuine threats and the cynicism that is imprisoning you behind a wall of your own construction, keeping out not just the dangers, but the blessings. This second form of cynicism does not arise from wisdom or discernment or intellectual rigor. It arises from pain. Specifically, it arises from the accumulated sediment of past disappointments that were never fully processed, never fully grieved, never fully metabolized by a nervous system that was too overwhelmed to handle them at the time they occurred. Every time you believed in something with your whole heart and it did not work out, a small scar formed on your capacity for hope. Not a conscious scar, not one you could point to and name. A cellular scar etched into the tissue of your expectations, invisible but influential. Every time you invested money in a program or a product or a promise that guaranteed transformation and delivered only a temporary emotional high, followed by the familiar crash of unchanged reality, that scar thickened slightly. Every time you opened yourself to the vulnerable, terrifying possibility that maybe this time would be different, and it was not different, another layer of protective tissue formed around your willingness to try again. Over years and decades, those scars accumulate into what feels indistinguishable from wisdom, but is actually armor. Heavy, constricting, suffocating armor that you have been wearing so long you have forgotten that it is not your skin. And the fundamental problem with armor is that it does not discriminate between threats and opportunities. It does not analyze what is approaching and decide whether to let it in or keep it out based on the merits of the specific situation. It blocks everything, indiscriminately, reflexively, automatically. It blocks the scams and the frauds and the empty promises, yes, but it also blocks the genuine answer to the prayer you have been praying for 5 years. It also blocks the divine appointment that God spent months arranging, aligning circumstances, redirecting your attention, guiding your cursor to this specific video at this specific moment. It also blocks the tool that would actually, physically, measurably restore the bridge between your hemispheres and complete the almost pattern that has been defining and confining your existence for longer than you want to admit. I am asking you to do something courageous right now, not something easy. Courage is never easy. I am asking you to notice the cynicism without obeying it, to hear its voice, that familiar, reasonable, protective voice that sounds so much like your own wisdom without following its instructions, to acknowledge it as a natural, understandable, even honorable response to the pain of past disappointments without allowing it to dictate your present decisions about an opportunity that is categorically different from anything that disappointed you before. Because if you let the cynicism win right now, if you allow the armor to do what armor does and reject this opportunity the same way it has rejected every previous opportunity regardless of its legitimacy, then you will close this video and return to the exact same life you had before you opened it. The same fog sitting between your awareness and your capacity for action. The same emotional volatility swinging you between extremes that exhaust and confuse you. The same intermittent creative flow that gives you just enough brilliance to know exactly what you are missing, but never enough to build the life that God showed you in your visions and your deepest prayers. That is not discernment, that is self-sabotage, dressed in the clothing of wisdom. And God did not orchestrate every detail of this encounter so that your accumulated wounds could prevent you from receiving the healing He has been preparing for you since before you knew you needed it. Let me reframe the decision you are facing right now in terms that strip away the emotional noise and present it as the simple, logical, practically riskless calculation that it actually is when you remove the distortion of the cynicism defense and look at it with clear eyes. The method I have described costs $39. Let me help you feel the weight of that number by placing it next to some of the things you spend $39 on, without any hesitation, without any internal debate, without any cynicism defense activating to protect you from the danger of a restaurant meal. $39 is less than dinner at a restaurant where the food is forgotten by the following morning, and the only lasting effect is a slight heaviness in your stomach. It is less than a single tank of gas that you burn driving to a job that does not fulfill you because the fog is too thick for you to envision an alternative. It is less than a monthly subscription to a streaming service that you watch out of habit rather than genuine interest, because the creative fire that would otherwise fill those hours has been dampened by the desynchronization between your hemispheres. It is less than a single copay at the doctor who will listen to your complaints about brain fog and fatigue and mood swings, and then prescribe medication that manages the symptoms without ever addressing the underlying cause. Medication that you will take for months or years, each refill costing more than $39, each refill treating the branches while the root continues to rot beneath the surface. But let me go beyond casual comparisons and look at what $39 represents in the specific context of the clinical alternative that addresses the same neurological condition through traditional medical channels. The clinical gold standard for treating hemispheric desynchronization is a modality called neurofeedback therapy. This is a legitimate, well-researched, clinically effective intervention that has been practiced in medical and clinical settings for several decades. It involves sitting in a specialized chair in a specialized office attached to a specialized EEG monitoring system while a trained technician guides your brain through a series of exercises designed to improve the communication between your hemispheres. It works. The science behind it is sound, and I want to be completely transparent about the fact that it is a valid, credible, scientifically supported approach to the problem I have been describing. It costs between $200 and $300 per session, per single session. Each session lasts approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour, and it must be conducted in a clinical environment under the direct supervision of a trained and certified neurofeedback technician. A standard neurofeedback protocol for addressing hemispheric desynchronization involves a minimum of 10 sessions, delivered over the course of several weeks, with each session building on the neurological gains achieved in the previous one. Some patients require 15 or 20 sessions to achieve stable, lasting synchronization. Let us do the math together, because the numbers tell a story that no amount of marketing language could tell as effectively. 10 sessions, at an average of $250 per session, equals $2,500. That is the base clinical cost for a standard neurofeedback protocol. Now, add the indirect costs that no one mentions when they quote you the session price. Transportation to and from the clinic, which may be 30 minutes or an hour from your home, depending on where you live, because neurofeedback practitioners are not exactly on every street corner. Time taken off work for appointments that are only available during business hours, because that is when the clinic is open. Childcare arrangements, if you have children who cannot be left unsupervised for the 2 to 3 hours that each appointment, including travel time, actually requires. The lost productivity on the days when the sessions leave you feeling neurologically recalibrated but physically tired and unable to perform at your normal capacity for the rest of the afternoon. When you add all of those indirect costs to the base session fees, the true cost of a standard neurofeedback protocol easily exceeds $3,000. And that assumes everything goes smoothly. That assumes 10 sessions are sufficient. That assumes you do not need the extended protocol that many patients require. That assumes you can find a qualified practitioner in your geographic area, which is by no means guaranteed if you live outside of a major metropolitan center. $3,000 minimum, and the process takes weeks, and it requires you to physically travel to a clinic on a regular schedule. And there is no guarantee of a specific outcome, because clinical practitioners cannot and do not guarantee results in the same way that a consumer product can. Now, compare that to what Dr. Barone has made available. The same fundamental neurological principles that make clinical neurofeedback effective, the same understanding of hemispheric frequency alignment, the same recognition that the brain can be guided into synchronization through precisely calibrated external stimulation. All of it distilled through the mechanism of auditory neural entrainment into an 8-minute audio session that you can access from your phone, in your bed, at your kitchen table, at 3 in the morning if that is when the spirit moves you to begin. No clinic, no appointments, no travel, no time off work, no childcare complications, no geographic limitations, no 10-week commitment, no $3,000 investment. $39 one time, not a subscription that quietly drains your bank account month after month. Not a membership that requires you to remember to cancel before the free trial expires. Not a payment plan that locks you into future charges. One single payment of $39 that gives you permanent, unlimited, lifelong access to the core neural sync protocol and everything that comes with it. The original retail price was $49, and even at that price it represented a fraction of 1% of the cost of the clinical alternative. But Dr. Barone made the deliberate decision to reduce it to $39 during this critical period because he understood something that most people who create products like this never understand. He understood that the people who need this most, the chosen ones who have been trapped in the almost pattern, are often the same people who have already spent significant amounts of money on approaches that address the wrong layer of the problem. They have bought the supplements, they have purchased the courses, they have invested in the coaching programs, they have paid for the therapy sessions, they have tried the apps, they have experimented with the diets, and they are exhausted, not just neurologically but financially, from the cumulative cost of solutions that never solved the fundamental issue. Dr. Barone did not want $39 to be a barrier. He did not want a person sitting in the almost pattern, sensing that this message was different, feeling the resonance of recognition in their chest, knowing in their spirit that this was the answer they had been searching for, and then being stopped by a price tag. So he reduced it to a number that removes the financial objection from the equation entirely and places the decision exactly where it belongs, in the space between your faith and your fear. And then he went further. Beyond the core 8-minute neural sync session, he included 4 additional bonuses at no extra charge, each one addressing a specific dimension of the restoration process that begins when your hemispheres start communicating again for the first time in years. The first bonus targets sleep optimization. Because your sleep is not just rest, it is the period when your brain performs its most critical maintenance and integration work. When your hemispheres are desynchronized, your sleep architecture, the precise sequence of stages your brain cycles through each night, becomes disrupted. You may fall asleep easily but fail to reach the deep delta states where neurological repair occurs. Or you may reach those states but cycle out of them too quickly for the repair work to complete. This bonus provides a specialized audio protocol designed to support your transition into the deepest, most restorative phases of sleep, allowing your brain to integrate the synchronization gains achieved during your daytime sessions and consolidate them into lasting structural improvements in the corpus callosum itself. The second bonus addresses stress response recalibration. The chronic elevation of cortisol and other stress hormones that results from living in the modern environment does not just damage the bridge between your hemispheres, it creates a feedback loop where the damage itself generates additional stress, which causes additional damage, which generates additional stress in a cycle that feeds on itself and accelerates the degradation over time. This bonus provides practical, science-backed tools for interrupting that cycle, resetting your stress response baseline, and creating the internal neurochemical environment that supports sustained hemispheric synchronization rather than actively working against it. Think of it as clearing the corrosive mist from the bridge, while the core method repairs the fibers that the mist already damaged. The third bonus focuses on cognitive performance optimization. Restoring the bridge is not the end of the process. It is the beginning. Once your hemispheres are communicating again, you need to learn how to use that restored communication effectively. How to direct the increased cognitive bandwidth toward the goals, the projects, the relationships, and the creative works that matter most to you. How to translate the clarity into action, and the action into results that accumulate over time into the life you were designed to live. The fourth bonus provides a framework for long-term maintenance and protection, because you are still living in the same world that caused the degradation in the first place. The screens are still there. The stress is still there. The artificial light and the processed food and the constant neural stimulation are still there. The difference is that now you will have the awareness and the daily practices to mitigate those factors consciously, to protect your restored bridge from the environmental forces that damaged it, to maintain the synchronization that was restored, rather than allowing it to be gradually eroded again. All four bonuses are included with the single $39 investment, not as a separate purchase you discover at the bottom of a checkout page, not as an upsell that appears after you enter your payment information, not as a limited time edition that creates artificial urgency and disappears if you do not act within the next 15 minutes. They are a permanent part of the core offering because they are a necessary part of the complete solution. And covering everything, the core method and every bonus, is the full, unconditional money-back guarantee that I described earlier. Let me be specific about what that guarantee means in practical, operational terms, so there is no ambiguity, no fine print to worry about, no hidden conditions that change the equation. If you access the Genius Switch, use the 8-minute neural sync session, explore the bonuses, give the method an honest evaluation with your own brain and your own awareness, and conclude for any reason that it did not produce the shift I have been describing, you receive every cent of your $39 back. No questions asked, no explanation required, no form to fill out that asks you to justify your decision. No customer service representative trying to talk you out of it or convince you to try again or offer you a discount on a future product you do not want. You simply request the refund and you receive it. That guarantee exists for one simple, powerful, mathematically verifiable reason. Over 18,456 people have used this method, and the overwhelming majority of them experienced exactly the shift I have been describing. The fog lifted, the emotions stabilized, the creative flow returned, the almost pattern completed itself. If that were not the case, if the method failed more often than it succeeded, the refund requests would have made the guarantee financially unsustainable within the first 30 days of its existence. The fact that the guarantee still stands, that it is still offered freely and without restriction to every new user, tells you everything you need to know about the confidence behind this method and the reliability of its results. Now I want to address a layer of resistance that lies even deeper than the cynicism I discussed earlier, because I think there is something happening inside you right now that goes beyond skepticism, beyond caution, beyond the natural hesitation that any reasonable person would feel when confronted with a claim that sounds extraordinary. I think there is a fear, not the fear of losing money, because the guarantee eliminates that concern completely. Not the fear of being scammed, because the Nobel Prize lineage, the 18,000 user base, and the clinical parallels provide credibility that most offerings in this space never approach. The fear I am talking about is quieter than those fears, more intimate, more personal. It is the fear of what happens if this actually works. I want you to sit with that for a moment. What happens if the fog actually lifts? What happens if the emotional chaos actually subsides into a deep, stable, navigable calm? What happens if the creative flow that you mourned as lost actually comes flooding back with a force and a clarity that exceeds anything you experienced, even in your best years. What happens if the almost pattern actually completes itself, and the life you have been seeing in your visions, the life God showed you in your boldest, most luminous dreams, starts materializing around you with the same undeniable reality as the ground under your feet? I will tell you what happens. You lose your excuse. You lose the story that you have been telling yourself. The story that has been both prison and refuge. The story that explains why your life looks the way it looks. The story that blames your circumstances, your upbringing, your financial situation, the people who wronged you, the economy, the political environment, the generation you were born into, the city you live in, the family you married into. All the external factors that you have been pointing to as the reason for the gap between your potential and your reality. When the bridge is restored and the fog lifts, and you can finally see with the crystal clarity of a fully synchronized brain, you will also see with devastating honesty that many of the limitations you attributed to external circumstances were actually internal, that the barrier was not out there, it was in here, between your hemispheres, in the degraded fibers of a bridge that was supposed to carry your divine potential from the realm of spiritual perception into the realm of physical manifestation. And that means the fog was never the enemy. The fog was the alibi. The fog was the reason you could tell yourself and others and God that you were doing everything you could, but things just were not working out. When the fog lifts, that alibi disappears. And what remains is a clear, unobstructed view of your actual potential, your actual capacity, your actual responsibility to become the person God created you to be and do the work God created you to do. And that chosen one is terrifying, not because it is bad, because it is enormous, because it requires you to become someone you have never been before, because it demands that you stop playing small and start occupying the territory that was assigned to you before the foundation of the world, because it means that every excuse you have been hiding behind will dissolve in the light of a brain that can finally see clearly, and in that clarity, you will have no choice but to rise. This is the fear that your cynicism is really protecting you from, not the fear of wasting $39, the fear of discovering that you are everything God said you are, everything He whispered to you in those quiet moments when the fog briefly lifted and you caught a glimpse of the person you were meant to become. The fear that you are not too old, not too late, not too damaged, not too far behind, that the calling was never revoked, that the anointing was never withdrawn, that the gift was never taken back, that everything you were promised is still waiting for you on the other side of a neurological correction that takes 8 minutes. I am going to say something now that I do not say lightly, and I want you to receive it not as a sales technique, but as a prophetic utterance spoken over your life by someone who has seen what happens when chosen ones break free from the almost pattern. You are meant to access this tool, not because I need you to, not because the price is right, not because the guarantee eliminates the risk. You are meant to access it because this entire message, from the first word to this very sentence, was orchestrated by a divine intelligence that has been watching you struggle in the almost pattern and decided that today, this day, this hour, this moment was the day it would end. God does not bring you to the water and then forbid you from drinking. He does not show you the bridge and then place a wall across its entrance. He does not reveal the solution and then make it inaccessible or unaffordable or incomprehensible. He brought you here. He kept you listening through every wave of doubt and every surge of cynicism and every reflexive flinch of past pain. He held your attention because He knew that what you are about to do next is the most important decision you have made in years. The link is in the description below this video. When you click it, you will be taken to a page that presents everything I have described in complete detail, including the full scientific framework, the comprehensive list of bonuses, the exact terms of the money-back guarantee, and the testimonials of people who stood exactly where you are standing right now and made the choice that changed everything for them. You do not need to have all your doubts resolved before you act. You do not need the cynicism to give you permission. You do not need to feel 100% certain that this is going to work. You only need to trust one thing, that the same God who brought you to this video at this exact moment in your life would not waste his time, or yours, delivering a message that leads to a dead end. Click the link, access the method, listen to the 8-minute session tonight, and then pay attention to what happens tomorrow morning when you open your eyes. Pay attention to the quality of your first thoughts, the steadiness of your first emotions, the clarity of your first perceptions as consciousness returns and the world comes into focus around you. Pay attention, and you will know, with a certainty that bypasses the analytical mind and settles directly into the marrow of your bones, that the bridge is being restored and the almost pattern is finally, mercifully, irrevocably approaching its completion. And if you are still hesitating, still caught in the gravitational pull between the cynicism that wants to protect you and the spirit that wants to promote you, let me leave you with one final calculation. You have nothing to lose. That is not a motivational phrase. That is an arithmetic fact. $39 protected by a complete money-back guarantee means that the worst-case scenario, the absolute worst outcome that could possibly result from your decision to act, is that you try the method, conclude that it is not what you need, request a full refund, receive it promptly and without hassle, and return to exactly where you are right now, with every penny of your $39 back in your account. Exactly where you are now. Nothing lost, nothing diminished, nothing sacrificed. But the best-case scenario, let that phrase hang in the air for a moment. The best case is that tonight, 8 minutes from now if you choose, the fog that has been sitting between you and your destiny begins to dissolve. That the emotional storm that has been depleting your energy for years begins to settle into a navigable calm. That the creative fire you were certain had died forever reignites with a heat and a brilliance that surpasses anything you experienced, even in your most inspired years. The best case is that the almost pattern, the pattern that has haunted you and confused you and made you question your own spiritual perception, finally, completely, irreversibly completes itself. And in its completion, reveals a life so aligned with your divine purpose, so abundant, so creative, so emotionally grounded, so cognitively clear, that looking back at the version of yourself who hesitated over $39 will feel like remembering a dream you had about someone who was almost you, but not quite. Between losing nothing and gaining everything, the choice is not a choice at all. It is a threshold, and you are standing on it right now. Step across. The link is in the description. Your bridge is waiting to be restored. And God is waiting to see what you will build when both sides of your magnificent, divinely designed brain are finally working together the way He always intended. Now I want to tell you what happens on the other side, because everything I have said up to this point has been about the problem and the solution, the diagnosis and the prescription, the disease and the cure. But the cure is not the destination. The cure is the departure gate. It is the point from which the real journey begins, the journey that you were designed for, the journey that has been waiting for you on the other side of the fog, like a continent that was always there, but obscured by clouds so thick you forgot it existed. When the bridge between your hemispheres begins to restore, when the neural sync protocol initiates the process of bringing your left and right brain back into frequency alignment, something happens that I can only describe as a homecoming. Not a homecoming in the external sense of returning to a physical place, a homecoming in the internal sense of returning to a version of yourself that you left behind so gradually that you did not realize you had departed from it. The first thing you will notice, and this typically begins within hours of your first session, is what I call the quiet, not silence, not the absence of sound. The quiet is the absence of static. That background noise that you have been living with for so long that you stopped hearing it, the constant, low-level hum of neurological interference that sits beneath your conscious awareness and colors everything you think and feel and perceive with a thin wash of distortion. When the hemispheres begin to synchronize, that static fades, and in the space it leaves behind, you hear something you have not heard clearly in years. You hear yourself, your actual self. Not the anxious self that is always calculating risk and scanning for threats and rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Not the performative self that is always monitoring how you appear to others and adjusting your presentation to minimize judgment. Not the defensive self that is always bracing for the next disappointment. Yourself, the one that existed before the fog, the one that knows things it cannot explain, the one that sees things it cannot prove, the one that has been trying to speak to you through the static for years, sending messages that arrived in your consciousness as vague intuitions, partial ideas, and fleeting feelings that dissolved before you could grasp them. That self has been there the entire time, waiting, patient, unwavering in its certainty that eventually, inevitably, the bridge would be restored and communication would resume. And when it does resume, when the static clears and you hear that voice again with the clarity and the authority and the unmistakable realness of someone standing right beside you, the emotional response is not excitement. It is not celebration. It is relief so deep that it borders on grief, because you realize how long it has been. You realize how many years you spent navigating your life with a distorted compass, making decisions based on corrupted data, pursuing paths that your static-filled mind told you were right, but your true self knew were detours. You realize how much time you lost, how many opportunities you missed, how many relationships you mishandled because you could not hear clearly enough to respond with the wisdom and the love and the precision that the moment required. And then, almost immediately, the grief transmutes into something else, into gratitude, because you are here now. The bridge is being restored now. The static is clearing now. And the future that unfolds from this moment forward is a future navigated by a brain that is whole, a mind that is clear, and a spirit that is finally able to express itself through the physical instrument it was designed to operate. Let me walk you through what the first week typically looks like for people who begin the neural sync sessions. I am drawing on the documented experiences of thousands of users, and while individual results vary in their specific details, the general arc is remarkably consistent across different ages, backgrounds, spiritual traditions, and life circumstances. Colors seem slightly more vivid. Sounds seem slightly more distinct. The face of the person across the table from you at dinner seems slightly more detailed, slightly more present, slightly more real. It is as if a thin film that you did not know was there has been peeled away from the surface of your perception, and you are seeing the world as it actually is for the first time in longer than you can remember. Day 2 is when the emotional stabilization typically begins. Remember the volatility I described earlier, the disproportionate reactions to minor events, the wild swings between overwhelming intensity and disturbing numbness, the exhausting feeling of being at the mercy of emotional currents that you cannot predict or control or even understand after the fact when you look back and wonder why you reacted the way you did. On day 2, those currents begin to slow, not disappear. Emotions are essential and sacred, and you would never want them to disappear, nor would a healthy brain allow them to. But they begin to flow rather than crash. They begin to arrive with appropriate intensity, proportional to the event that triggered them, deliver their message clearly and completely, and then move through your system in a clean, digestible wave that leaves insight and clarity in its wake, rather than confusion and emotional debris. You might notice that something that would have sent you into a spiral of frustration last week now produces a measured response, followed by a clear-headed assessment of next steps. You might notice that you feel more emotionally available to the people around you, more present in conversations, less defended, less reactive, less braced for impact. Day 3 is when most people report the first return of creative impulses, not the full, sustained, hours-long flow state that you remember from your peak creative years. Not yet, but the first stirring. The first tremor of something waking up inside a chamber that has been sealed for years. The first idea that arrives with more structure and more detail and more dimensional richness than you have become accustomed to receiving. The first flash of creative vision that does not dissolve like sugar in water when you try to examine it, but instead holds its shape, maintains its coherence, and allows you to turn it over in your mind and see it from multiple angles and consider its implications without the whole thing evaporating into a vague feeling of something that was there a moment ago but is gone now. This is the right hemisphere beginning to successfully transmit creative data across the newly restored bridge to the left hemisphere, where it can be examined, structured, and preserved. And even though it is just the beginning, just the first tentative signals crossing a bridge that has been too degraded to carry them for years, it is enough to make you realize what has been missing and what is about to return. Day 5 is when the external effects typically begin. And by external effects, I mean the changes that other people in your life start to notice before you tell them what you are doing. Your conversations become sharper, your decisions become more confident, your presence becomes more grounded, more centered, more magnetically compelling, in a way that people cannot quite identify, but absolutely respond to. They do not know that your hemispheres are synchronizing. They do not know about the bridge or the corpus callosum or the neural sync protocol. They just know that something about you is different. Something about the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to challenges, the way you hold space in a conversation has shifted, and they are drawn to it because synchronized consciousness is inherently attractive. It radiates a frequency of wholeness that other people can feel, even if they cannot name it. It makes them feel safer in your presence, more willing to be honest, more willing to trust, more willing to collaborate, to share resources, to offer opportunities that they would not offer to someone who projected the fragmented, uncertain, fog-filled energy of hemispheric desynchronization. This is what I call the territory effect, and it is one of the most powerful and least understood consequences of hemispheric synchronization. It is also the consequence that most directly impacts your external circumstances, your relationships, your career, your financial flow, and your ability to attract and organize the resources that you need to fulfill the assignment God gave you. When your brain is operating in a synchronized state, you do not just think differently. You occupy space differently. You move through rooms differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. You exist in the world with a gravitational pull, a magnetic quality, a centered and grounded and unshakable presence that was always part of your original design, but was suppressed, muted, and scrambled by the neurological interference that prevented it from expressing itself through your body, your voice, your eyes, and the invisible field that your brain generates around you in every social interaction. You are the tower, chosen one, and your signal, the frequency that your synchronized brain broadcasts into the world around you, is what attracts the people, the opportunities, the resources, and the divine appointments that constitute the territory God assigned to you before you were born. When the bridge is degraded and the signal is weak, your territory remains unpopulated. The people who were meant to find you cannot locate your frequency. The opportunities that were designed for you cannot reach you through the static. The resources that God allocated to your assignment sit unclaimed because the address they were sent to, your unique neurological frequency, is not broadcasting clearly enough for them to arrive. When the bridge is restored and the signal strengthens, your territory begins to populate, not through effort, not through networking, not through the exhausting, soul-crushing hustle of trying to make connections with people who do not resonate with you in the desperate hope that one of them might be useful. Your territory populates naturally, organically, effortlessly, the way a flower does not need to chase bees, because its frequency, its scent, its color, its design does the attracting for it. Days 6 and 7 of the first week are when most people begin to experience what I call the constellation effect. And this is where the experience shifts from internal improvement to external transformation in ways that will astonish you. This is the phenomenon where the people who are meant to be connected to your purpose begin to appear in your life with a speed and a specificity that cannot be explained by probability alone. A phone call from someone you have not spoken to in years, and the conversation contains exactly the piece of information or exactly the offer of help that you need at that exact moment. An encounter with a stranger in an unexpected location who turns out to be working in exactly the field you have been feeling drawn to explore. A message in your inbox from someone responding to something you posted months ago that went unnoticed at the time, but is suddenly, inexplicably generating responses now, as if the post itself has been reactivated by the same frequency shift that is happening in your brain. This is not magical thinking. This is not manifestation in the distorted, oversimplified, think positive, and good things will happen sense that the popular culture has been promoting for decades. This is a measurable, documentable, neurologically grounded phenomenon that occurs when a synchronized brain begins broadcasting at its designed frequency, and the people, resources, and opportunities that are calibrated to that frequency begin responding. You have seen this happen in other people and wondered why it never happens to you. You have watched certain individuals move through life with what appears to be effortless luck, attracting the right people, landing the right opportunities, being in the right place at exactly the right time, over and over again. And you assumed it was luck, or privilege, or some mysterious quality that they possessed and you did not. It was not luck. It was not privilege. It was not a mysterious quality. It was synchronization. Their brains were operating in a synchronized state, whether they knew it or not, and that synchronization produced a signal strong enough to activate the territory effect and begin populating their lives with the exact resources they needed at the exact moments they needed them. You have the same capacity, the same potential signal strength, the same divine territory waiting to be populated. The only difference between you and them is the bridge, and the bridge is being restored. Now, I want to talk about something even more profound than the territory effect, because what happens in your individual life when the bridge is restored is extraordinary, but it is not the full picture. The full picture involves everyone else whose bridge is being restored at the same time, and the cascading, multiplying, exponentially amplifying effect that occurs when multiple synchronized brains begin operating in the same geographic and relational space. This is what I call cascading activation, and it is the phenomenon that I believe will define the next chapter of human spiritual evolution on this planet. It is the reason why the restoration of one brain matters far beyond the life of the person whose skull contains it. It is the reason why your decision to click that link and begin the 8-minute session is not a private, personal, self-interested act, but a contribution to a collective awakening that your individual synchronization makes possible and that the world desperately, urgently needs. When one person in a family, a workplace, a community, or a social network achieves hemispheric synchronization, their newly restored signal begins to influence the neurological states of the people around them. This is not a metaphor. This is a documented phenomenon in neuroscience called neural entrainment through social proximity. When you spend time in close physical proximity to another person, your brain waves naturally begin to synchronize with theirs. This has been measured in EEG studies of people sitting in the same room, having conversations, sharing meals, or simply existing in the presence of each other. The brain with the stronger, more coherent signal tends to entrain the brain with the weaker, less coherent signal, pulling it toward the same frequency, the way a large pendulum in a room full of smaller pendulums will gradually pull them all into its rhythm. This means that when you restore your hemispheric synchronization, you become an agent of restoration for the people around you, your spouse, your children, your co-workers, your friends, your neighbors. Simply by being in their presence, your synchronized brain exerts a subtle but measurable influence on their neurological states, nudging their hemispheres toward the same synchronization that you have achieved. Now multiply this effect. Imagine not one person but 10 achieving synchronization in the same community. Imagine 50. Imagine 100. Each one radiating a coherent, synchronized signal that influences the neurological states of everyone in their proximity. Each one activating the territory effect and beginning to attract the people, resources, and opportunities that were designed for their unique frequency. The result is not addition. It is not 10 times the effect of one person. It is multiplication. It is an exponential cascade in which each newly synchronized brain strengthens the field that synchronizes the next brain, which strengthens the field further, which synchronizes the next brain in a rising spiral of neurological and spiritual activation that transforms not just individuals but families, communities, organizations, and eventually regions. This is what the wave I described earlier is designed to amplify. The window of activation that is passing over the Earth right now is not random. It is not cosmically arbitrary. It is precisely timed to coincide with a moment when enough chosen ones have been prepared, positioned, and made aware of the neurological bottleneck that has been preventing their full activation. The wave provides the spiritual energy. The hemispheric synchronization provides the neurological infrastructure. Together, they create conditions for a cascading activation event that has no precedent in recorded human history. And you are part of it. Not a spectator, not a bystander, not someone who watches from the sidelines while others are activated. A participant, a node in the network, a signal source in the constellation. One of the first to have your bridge restored, your frequency clarified, your territory activated, your potential unleashed. The people who need you, the people God assigned to your territory, are waiting for your signal to come online. Some of them are in your immediate circle, People you see every day but have never been able to connect with at the depth that both of you sensed was possible. Some of them are strangers who will appear in your life within days or weeks of your synchronization, drawn by a frequency they cannot explain but cannot resist. Some of them are people who will not find you for months, but whose lives will be transformed when they do, because by then your signal will be so strong, so clear, so saturated with the frequency of wholeness that it will cut through their static the way a lighthouse cuts through fog. I need you to hear what I am about to say very carefully, because it reframes everything I have told you in a context that is much larger than your individual life and much more urgent than your personal comfort or convenience. This is not about you alone. This has never been about you alone. The almost pattern was never just your almost pattern. It was the almost pattern of an entire generation of chosen ones who have been neurologically prevented from fulfilling their collective assignment on the earth at this specific moment in history. When I said at the beginning of this message that God made sure you found this in time, I did not mean in time for your personal benefit alone, although that benefit is real and profound and about to become undeniable. I meant in time for the collective activation that your restored bridge makes possible. In time for the cascading effect that begins when you step into your full neurological capacity and start radiating the frequency that synchronizes the people around you. Your restoration is not just about you. It is about the nurse who sits next to you at a coffee shop and leaves feeling clearer than she has in months without understanding why. It is about the teenager who lives down the street and whose creative fire reignites because your synchronized signal provided the neurological nudge that their developing brain needed to find its rhythm. It is about the colleague at work who has been drowning in emotional volatility and finds sudden, inexplicable stability during the meeting where you are sitting 3 chairs away, radiating a frequency of wholeness that their brain begins to mirror unconsciously. Every person your signal reaches becomes a potential signal source themselves, and every person they reach becomes a potential source in turn, until the cascade reaches a tipping point, and the collective field of synchronization becomes self-sustaining, no longer dependent on any single individual, but generating its own momentum, its own frequency, its own gravitational pull toward the wholeness that God designed for the human species from the very beginning. That is what is at stake. That is what your decision to click the link in the description represents. Not a personal purchase, not a consumer transaction, not a self-help experiment conducted in the privacy of your headphones, a contribution to the greatest neurological and spiritual awakening event in the history of the human race. An event that begins, as all great movements do, with one person making one choice at one moment in time that happens to be exactly the right moment. This is that moment. You are that person, and the choice is exactly what I have been describing for the last several minutes. $39, 8 minutes, a full guarantee, 4 bonuses, the science of a Nobel laureate, the method of a dedicated researcher, the confirmation of 18,000 people who went before you, and the unmistakable, undeniable, impossible to ignore orchestration of a God who does not make mistakes and does not waste the time of anyone, especially not yours. Whatever happens next is between you and the divine intelligence that brought you here. I have delivered the message I was asked to deliver. I have explained the science. I have described the method. I have addressed the cynicism. I have painted the picture of what waits on the other side for you and for everyone whose life your restored signal will touch. The link is in the description. Your bridge is waiting. Your territory is waiting. Your constellation of connected souls is waiting. The people who need your signal are out there right now, scanning the frequencies, searching for the one that will cut through their static and show them the way home. And that signal is yours. But it cannot broadcast through a degraded bridge. It can only broadcast through one that has been restored. And restoration begins with a single click, a single session, a single 8-minute window in which your brain receives the calibration it has been waiting for since the day the static first began to build. Do not let this moment pass. You have spent too long in the almost pattern to let the completion slip through your fingers because the cynicism whispered one more objection. You have come too far, listened too long, felt too much recognition in these words to walk away now and pretend that this was just another video. It was not. You know it was not. And the fact that you are still here, still listening, still feeling the pull of something larger than your doubt, is the final confirmation that what I said at the very beginning is the unalterable, undeniable, divinely orchestrated truth. This is not coincidence. God made sure you found this in time. I want you to imagine tomorrow morning, not as an abstract concept, not as a distant future that feels disconnected from the reality of this moment. I want you to close your eyes for just a second and place yourself there, in your bed, in your room, in the specific, particular, unrepeatable moment when consciousness returns and the new day begins. You have done this thousands of times before. You have opened your eyes to the same ceiling, the same walls, the same soft geometry of morning light filtering through the curtains or the blinds. You have lain there in those first seconds of awareness, that liminal space between sleep and waking where the mind is still unguarded and the truth of your inner state is visible before the daily mask goes on. And in that liminal space, you have felt it, the fog, that familiar, suffocating, invisible presence that greets you before your feet touch the floor. The heaviness in your thinking that makes even the simplest decision feel like pushing through water. The dull ache of potential that has nowhere to go, pressing against the walls of your skull like a river behind a dam that has no gate. You know this feeling. You have been waking up to it for months, for years, for so long that you have stopped recognizing it as abnormal and started accepting it as the permanent texture of your consciousness. 8 minutes. That is the distance between the life you are living now and the life you are about to begin living. 8 minutes of listening, with your eyes closed, with your headphones on, in whatever quiet corner of your home feels right. 8 minutes during which the neural sync protocol will present your brain with the layered frequency differentials that initiate the process of bringing your left and right hemispheres back into alignment. You will not feel fireworks. You will not see visions. You will not experience some dramatic, overwhelming, cinematically satisfying moment of transformation that you can post about on social media in the morning. What you will experience is quieter, subtler, and infinitely more real than any of that. You will experience the beginning of the quiet, the first dimming of the static, the first almost imperceptible reduction in the background noise that has been coloring your every thought and feeling and perception for longer than you can remember. And then you will sleep, and your sleep will be different too, because the initial synchronization that occurred during the 8-minute session creates conditions that allow your brain to enter the deep restorative states that hemispheric desynchronization has been preventing. You will cycle through delta and theta phases more completely. Your brain will perform the overnight integration work that it has been unable to fully complete for years. The neurological repairs that require the deep sleep states will begin quietly in the darkness while you rest. And then you will wake up, and the ceiling will look the same, and the walls will look the same, and the soft geometry of morning light will filter through the curtains or the blinds exactly as it has 10,000 times before. but you will know instantly in the first 3 seconds of consciousness, before your feet touch the floor, before you reach for your phone, before a single word is spoken or a single task is contemplated, that something has shifted. The fog will be thinner, not gone, not after one session, but thinner, lighter, less dense, less oppressive, like a curtain that has been pulled back an inch, allowing a stripe of pure, unfiltered sunlight to fall across the floor of a room that has been dim for so long that you forgot what the sun looked like on that particular stretch of hardwood. And in that stripe of light, in that narrow but undeniable clearing in the fog, you will feel something you have not felt in a long time. Hope. Not the fragile, conditional, easily crushed hope that comes from external circumstances aligning temporarily in your favor. Real hope. Neurological hope. The hope that arises when a brain that has been operating at 50% capacity suddenly receives evidence that full capacity is not just theoretically possible but practically, physically, measurably returning. That first morning is the beginning, not the completion. The beginning of a process that deepens with each subsequent session, each night of neurologically optimized sleep, each day of gradually increasing cognitive clarity and emotional stability and creative availability. The process does not require effort in the way that your previous approaches to self-improvement required effort. It does not require willpower or discipline or the kind of grinding, teeth-clenching determination that burns through your psychological reserves and leaves you exhausted. It requires 8 minutes a day, that is all. 8 minutes of allowing your brain to receive the calibration that it was designed to receive, the same way your lungs receive air and your eyes receive light. Effortlessly, naturally, by design. And as the days pass, as one morning leads to the next, and each one brings a slightly wider stripe of light across the floor of your awareness, something extraordinary begins to happen to the way you move through the world. Not just the way you think. Not just the way you feel, the way you move, the way you speak, the way you enter a room, the way you hold eye contact, the way you respond to challenges and opportunities, and the 1,000 small decisions that constitute a day. You start making decisions faster and with less anxiety because the analytical power of your left hemisphere and the intuitive wisdom of your right hemisphere are no longer working in isolation. They are consulting each other in real time, producing decisions that are both logically sound and intuitively aligned. Decisions that feel right in your gut and check out in your spreadsheet, and that dual confirmation gives you a confidence that nothing else can replicate. You start creating again with the kind of effortless, unstoppable flow that you thought you had lost forever. Ideas arrive complete. Solutions present themselves fully formed. The creative block that had become your constant companion dissolves, and in its place, a torrent of creative output pours through you with a quality and a volume that surprises even you, because you had forgotten what you were capable of when both hemispheres were contributing to the creative process simultaneously. This is what it looks like when the bridge is restored and the territory begins to populate. This is what it looks like when the almost pattern completes itself, and the life God designed for you starts manifesting with the same undeniable reality as the ground under your feet and the air in your lungs. And I want to be very clear about something, because this point is critical to your understanding of what is happening and what you are becoming. The bridge restoration is not magic. It is not a spell. It is not a shortcut that bypasses the need for effort and action and faithfulness. It is an infrastructure repair that makes your effort and your action and your faithfulness effective in ways they could not be when the bridge was degraded. Your faith is the seed. Your spiritual practice is the soil. The wave of divine activation passing over the earth is the favorable weather. Your work ethic, your dedication, your years of persistent effort in the face of seemingly fruitless labor, that is the diligence. All of those elements have been present in your life for a long time. The irrigation system, the bridge between your hemispheres, is the only piece that was broken, and when it is restored, all of those other elements will finally produce the harvest they have been aching to produce for years. Now, I want to speak to you about maintaining this restoration, because restoration without maintenance is a temporary event rather than a permanent transformation, and temporary events are not what God has in mind for you. The same environmental factors that degraded your bridge in the first place are still present in the world around you. The electromagnetic interference is still there. The artificial light is still there. The stress-inducing information streams are still there. The processed foods are still there. The constant neural stimulation of modern digital life is still there. You are not being taken out of the world. You are being equipped to thrive within it. The 8-minute daily sessions serve a dual purpose. They are both restorative and protective. Each session deepens the synchronization gains achieved in previous sessions, pushing the alignment between your hemispheres further toward the optimal state that monks and mystics achieved through decades of isolated practice. But each session also reinforces the neural pathways that support that synchronization, strengthening the fibers of the corpus callosum, training your brain to maintain its coherent frequency pattern even in the face of environmental interference that would otherwise pull it back toward desynchronization. Think of it as exercise for your neurological bridge. The way a daily workout maintains and strengthens the physical muscles that allow your body to function at its best, the daily 8-minute session maintains and strengthens the neurological infrastructure that allows your mind to function at its highest capacity. And just as physical exercise becomes easier and more enjoyable over time as your body adapts and your fitness increases, the daily neural sync session becomes deeper and more productive over time as your brain adapts and its capacity for sustained synchronization increases. Within a few weeks of consistent daily use, most people report that the synchronization feels less like something they have to achieve and more like something they naturally are. It becomes their baseline state rather than an elevated state they have to work to reach. The fog does not just lift temporarily during the session and then return when it ends. The fog lifts permanently. The emotional stability does not just appear during the session and then wobble when real life reasserts its demands. The emotional stability becomes the permanent platform from which they respond to life, steady and grounded and flexible and resilient, regardless of what circumstances throw at them. This is the difference between a tool that produces temporary relief and a tool that produces permanent transformation. The method does not create a dependency. It does not require you to listen to the session before every important meeting or every creative session or every difficult conversation for the rest of your life. It rebuilds the infrastructure so thoroughly and so completely that the infrastructure eventually sustains itself, the way a river that has been cleared of debris eventually maintains its own channel through the force of its own current. The 4 bonuses I described earlier play a crucial role in this transition from dependence to independence, from externally supported synchronization to self-sustaining synchronization. They address the dietary factors, the sleep factors, the stress factors, and the cognitive optimization factors that either support or undermine the neurological gains achieved through the core method. Together, the core session and the 4 bonuses create a comprehensive system of restoration and maintenance that addresses the problem from every relevant angle and produces a result that is not just impressive, but durable. I want to close this section by speaking directly to your spirit, because everything I have said up to this point has been addressed primarily to your mind, to your logical, analytical, evidence-evaluating left hemisphere that needs data and proof and rational justification before it will grant permission for action. Now I want to speak to the other side, the side that does not need proof, because it already knows. You know that what I have been saying is true. You know it not because the science is compelling, although it is, not because the testimonials are persuasive, although they are, not because the price is reasonable and the guarantee eliminates the risk, although both of those things are true. You know it because something inside you, something deeper than logic and older than language, has been vibrating with recognition since the first minute of this message. That vibration is not emotional excitement. It is not the adrenaline rush of hearing a persuasive pitch. It is resonance. The resonance of truth striking a frequency inside you that has been waiting for exactly this message, at exactly this time, delivered in exactly this way. You were designed to hear this. You were prepared for this moment through every synchronicity, every sign, every almost breakthrough. Every frustrating failure that you now understand was not failure at all, but the necessary journey that brought you to the exact coordinates where the answer was waiting. And the answer is not complicated. It is not a 10-step program. It is not a 5-year plan. It is not a spiritual discipline that requires the sacrifice of everything you have and everything you are. The answer is an 8-minute audio session delivered through your headphones that initiates the restoration of the neurological bridge between the part of you that receives divine revelation and the part of you that translates that revelation into physical reality. That is it. That is the entire answer. Everything else, the cascading activation, the territory effect, the constellation of connected souls, the completion of the almost pattern, all of it flows from that single, simple, 8-minute act of restoration. Now, let me pray over you, because I believe in the power of spoken intention, and I believe that the words I am about to speak are not just words, but seeds that God is planting in the soil of your neurological and spiritual restoration. And I believe that the same God who brought you to this message is going to water those seeds with His presence as you take the step He is asking you to take. Father, I lift up this chosen one to you right now. I lift up the person whose finger hovered over this video and who could have scrolled past but did not. The person whose spirit recognized something in the title or the thumbnail or the first few seconds that made them stop and listen. The person who has stayed through every minute of this message because something in them knew, before the evidence was presented, before the science was explained, before the method was described, that this was the moment you had been preparing for them. I pray for the bridge, Father. I pray for the 200 million nerve fibers of the corpus callosum that you designed to carry the communication of heaven into the actions of earth. I pray that every fiber that has been degraded by the environment of this fallen and overstimulated world would begin to heal. That every pathway that has been corroded by electromagnetic interference and chronic stress and artificial light would begin to clear. That the full bandwidth of communication between the hemispheres that you designed would be restored to its original specification, the specification you intended when you formed this brain, in secret, in the darkness of the womb, before this person drew their first breath. I pray for the fog to lift, not partially, not temporarily, permanently, completely, irreversibly. I pray for the emotional storms to calm into the steady, deep, navigable waters that you designed the human emotional system to be. I pray for the creative fire to reignite with a heat and a brilliance that exceeds anything this person has ever experienced, because I believe that their best creative work is not behind them, but ahead of them, waiting on the other side of the bridge restoration that begins tonight. I pray for the territory. I pray that the signal that this newly synchronized brain will broadcast into the world would reach every person, every resource, every opportunity, and every divine appointment that you assign to this person before the foundation of the world. I pray that the constellation would assemble, that the people who are meant to be connected to this calling would feel the pull of the signal and follow it, drawn not by persuasion or promotion, but by the irresistible frequency of a life that is finally operating at the capacity you designed. And I pray for courage, Father. I pray that in the next few minutes, as this person reaches for their phone or moves their cursor toward the link in the description, the cynicism that has been masquerading as wisdom would fall silent, that the armor of past disappointments would soften just enough to allow this one act of faith to pass through, that the fear of discovering their own greatness would be swallowed up by the overwhelming reality of your love, which is greater than any fear, deeper than any wound, more persistent than any defense mechanism, and more reliable than any guarantee that any human institution could ever offer. I pray this in the authority of the one who made the brain, who designed the bridge, who created the frequencies, and who orchestrated every detail of this encounter between these words and these ears at this precise moment in the unfolding story of this extraordinary life. Amen. Chosen one, the prayer has been spoken, the message has been delivered, the science has been explained, the method has been described, the price has been named, the guarantee has been given, the testimonials have been shared, the vision of what awaits you on the other side has been painted in as much detail as words allow. What remains now is the simplest and the most consequential action you will take today. A click, a single click on the link in the description below this video. Not a commitment to believe everything I have said. Not a promise to become someone you are not sure you can be. Not a leap of faith into the unknown. A click on a link that leads to a page, that leads to a method, that leads to an 8-minute session, that leads to the beginning of the restoration, that leads to the completion of the almost pattern, that leads to the life that God has been holding in reserve for you since the moment He spoke your name into existence. That is the chain, link to page, page to method, method to session, session to restoration, restoration to completion, completion to the life you were born to live but have been neurologically prevented from accessing. Every link in that chain is in place right now. Every element is ready. The only missing piece is your click. And I want you to notice something as you sit with this decision. Notice what you feel, not what you think, what you feel. In your chest, in your gut, in that deep, pre-verbal place where your true self has been waiting behind the fog for its chance to speak. What does it say? Not the cynicism, not the fear, not the accumulated scar tissue of past disappointments. What does the true voice say? The one that has been sending you signals through the static for years? The one that you almost gave up on but could never quite silence? I believe it is saying yes. I believe it has been saying yes since the first minute of this message. I believe it has been saying yes since before you pressed play, since before you found this video, since before the algorithm or the recommendation or the divine intervention that placed this thumbnail in your feed at the exact moment when your spirit was most ready to receive what it contains. Your true self has been saying yes to this moment for longer than you know, because your true self exists outside of linear time, and it has already seen what happens on the other side of your decision. It has already seen the fog lift. It has already seen the emotions stabilize. It has already seen the creative fire reignite. It has already seen the territory populate and the constellation assemble and the almost pattern complete itself with a perfection that only God could engineer. It has already seen the version of you that emerges from this restoration, and it has been pulling you toward that version with every synchronicity, every sign, every whispered intuition, every unexplainable urge to keep listening, even when your cynicism was screaming at you to stop. You are at the threshold now, the very threshold, not approaching it, not heading toward it, standing on it. One step, one click, one decision that takes 3 seconds to execute and reshapes the trajectory of your entire remaining life. God made sure you found this in time. Those were the words that drew you in, and those are the words I leave you with now, because they are not just a title, they are a prophecy. They are a declaration of divine intent spoken over your life by the same God who hung the stars and set the planets in their orbits and encoded 3 billion letters of genetic instruction into every cell of your body. He made sure, not hoped, not suggested, not hinted, made sure. With the same absolute, unshakable, reality-bending certainty with which he makes everything happen, that he decides will happen. He made sure you found this, not stumbled across it, not happened upon it, found it, the way a ship finds a harbor after weeks at sea, the way a river finds the ocean after miles of winding through terrain it has never seen before, the way a child finds home after wandering in a forest that seemed endless but never actually was, because the path was there the whole time, hidden by undergrowth but never absent, waiting to be discovered by a heart that refused to stop searching. In time, not too late, not after the window closed, not after the wave passed. In time, in the exact, precise, cosmically calibrated moment when the information could still become action, when the knowledge could still become transformation, when the seed could still be planted in soil that was warm enough and wet enough and ready enough to receive it and bring it to life. You found this in time, and the fact that you found it means that the time is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you have thought about it more or discussed it with someone or waited for another sign to confirm what your spirit already knows with absolute certainty. Now, tonight, this evening, before you go to sleep and wake up to another morning of fog and frustration and the maddening knowledge that you are capable of so much more than your current life reflects. The link is in the description below this video. Click it now. Access the method. Put your headphones on tonight. Listen for 8 minutes. And then sleep the deepest, most restorative sleep you have experienced in years. Knowing that while you rest, the bridge is being rebuilt, the frequencies are being aligned, and the almost pattern is breathing its last. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes to the same ceiling and the same walls and the same soft morning light, you will know. You will know it in the first 3 seconds, before your feet touch the floor, before a single word is spoken, before the world has a chance to reimpose its demands on your attention. You will know that something fundamental has shifted inside you. Something that has been broken for years has begun to heal, and the life that God promised you, the life that has been hovering just beyond the fog for as long as you can remember, has finally begun to arrive. This is not coincidence, chosen one. This was always the plan, and the plan is now in your hands. Go to the description, click the link, begin tonight, and when you wake up tomorrow morning to a mind that is clearer than it has been in years, remember this moment. Remember the moment you stopped scrolling and started listening. Remember the moment you heard the truth through the static and recognized it as the answer you had been searching for. Remember the moment you chose to trust the God who brought you here over the cynicism that tried to keep you away. And then, when the bridge is fully restored and the fog is completely gone and the creative fire is burning so brightly that the people around you cannot look away, come back to this message, not to listen again, although you are welcome to. Come back to leave a comment. Come back to add your story to the 18,456 stories that came before yours. Come back to tell the next chosen one, the one who is sitting where you sat, feeling what you felt, doubting what you doubted, that it is real, that the science is real, that the method is real, that the restoration is real. Tell them that you were exactly where they are, that you almost did not click the link, that the cynicism almost won, that the armor almost held, and that the single bravest thing you ever did was not climbing a mountain or fighting a battle or enduring a hardship. It was clicking a link on a video that a voice in your head told you was too good to be true, and discovering that it was not too good to be true. It was exactly as good as the God who designed your brain and orchestrated your arrival at this message always intended it to be. Go now, chosen one. The link is in the description. Your bridge is waiting. Your territory is waiting. Your constellation is waiting. Your life, the real one, the one that matches your calling and fulfills your purpose and burns with the creative fire that God placed in your spirit before you took your first breath, is waiting. And God, the one who made sure you found this in time, is watching, waiting to see what you will do with what he gave you, waiting to see if you will trust him enough to click a single link and invest 8 minutes and $39 in the neurological foundation that everything else depends on. He already knows what you are going to do. He knew before you pressed play. He knew before you were born. And the fact that you are still here, still listening, still feeling the pull of something greater than your fear, tells me that what he knows about your decision is exactly what I have been hoping for since the first word of this message left my lips. You are going to click the link. You are going to access the method. You are going to listen tonight, and tomorrow morning, everything changes. Not because I said so, because God made sure of it, because he does not bring his chosen ones to the threshold of their breakthrough and then let them walk away. Because he did not orchestrate every detail of your journey to this moment only to watch the cynicism win at the final gate. Because the same power that hung the stars in the sky and set the planets in their orbits and wove the fabric of space and time itself into the precise configuration required for your existence is more than sufficient to carry you across the distance between one click and a restored brain. Go. The description. The link. 8 minutes. Tonight. And tomorrow morning, chosen one, when the fog begins to lift and the quiet arrives and the bridge that was broken begins to carry the first clear signals between the two halves of your magnificent, divinely designed, fearfully and wonderfully made brain, whisper a prayer of gratitude to the God who refused to let you miss this, because he made sure you found it, and he made sure you found it in time.